Hey guys, welcome back to the channel, it's Legacy here. Today, we're exploring a pretty wild fanfic scenario. What if Naruto was reincarnation of Aizen? If you enjoy these kinds of stories, don't forget to hit like and subscribe so you're always in the loop when a new one drops. Let's set a small goal, 62 likes on this video. I know we can hit it. Alright, let's get into it. A cold wind swept across the empty city, picking up dust and shards of glass from a battle that had shattered everything. Sasuke Aizen lay flat on his back, staring up at the night sky. He felt his strength leaving him. The sharp pain in his chest told him the fight was over. Above him, the strange stone Hagioku pulsed with a weird light, still lodged deep in his body. Aizen didn't feel afraid. He almost laughed even as the blood filled his mouth. This was the end. The only person who had ever really gotten close to beating him had just done it. That kid with orange hair Ichigo stood over him, sword in hand, but even his figure was already fatting. Aizen's mind was already somewhere else. He felt the Hagioku warming inside his chest, stronger and stranger than before. Something about it was different, like it was waking up for real. He didn't have time to wonder what that meant. The world started to come apart, fatting around the edges, everything growing lighter and lighter until Aizen felt like he was falling faster and faster through layers of darkness and light and then nothing at all. His last thought was weirdly calm. Maybe this isn't the end after all. A scream tore through the small hospital room in Konoha. It was the kind of cry only a newborn could make, sharp, honest, and loud enough to rattle the walls. Kushina Uzumaki gripped the sheets, her red hair wild around her face, sweat dripping down her cheeks. She was exhausted, but her eyes were locked on the tiny, wriggling baby that had just been placed in her arms. Minato Namikaze, her husband, leaned over the bed, eyes wide with relief and worry at the same time. "He's here," he breathed, as if he could barely believe it. He knelt close to his wife, brushing hair off her forehead with a trembling hand. "You did it. He's beautiful, Kushina." Kushina let out a tired laugh, tears sliding down her face. "He's got your hair," she whispered. The baby's hair was light, a soft blonde fuzz. She touched his cheek with her finger and the baby quieted for a moment, looking up with big blue eyes. Minato smiled, but there was a shadow behind his happiness. Even as he stared at his son, the sounds outside reminded him of what was happening. Shouting, explosions, distant roars, it was chaos outside the hospital. The Nine Tails had attacked. The entire village was fighting for its life. But for a second, nothing else mattered except this small new life. Minato and Kushina both leaned in close, watching their son take his first breaths. The baby stared up at his parents, eyes wide and almost too sharp. For just a second, Minato thought he saw something odd in the boy's gaze, a focus, a flash of something old and knowing, but then the baby started to cry again and the moment passed. Before Minato could think about it anymore, a deep tremor shook the hospital. The lights flickered and a nurse rushed in, face pale. "The fox, it's gotten closer." Minato stiffened, instantly shifting from father to Hokage. He reached for his wife's hand, squeezing it tightly. "I have to go," he said quietly, "but I'll be back for you both, I promise." Kushina nodded, trying to be brave, but tears ran down her cheeks. "Take care of him," she whispered. "I will." Minato looked at his son once more, trying to burn the image into his mind, then ran out of the room. Outside, the world was falling apart. The Kyuubi Nine Tails was a monster out of nightmares, a fox as tall as a mountain. Its tails smashed through buildings, and each roar sent out a wave of raw energy that leveled everything in its path. Ninjas fought desperately, throwing themselves in front of friends and strangers alike. Everywhere, people ran for their lives. High above the chaos, a figure in a swirling mask, Tobai or Madara as he called himself, watched. His eyes were cold, unreadable. The plan was going perfectly. Inside the hospital, Kushina tried to calm her baby, but he was screaming again, little fists flailing. She couldn't blame him. She wanted to scream herself. The pain in her stomach was bad, but she held her son close, whispering his name over and over. "Naruto, Naruto." Deep inside the baby, something stirred, a sliver of another soul, falling through endless space, finally landing inside the tiny body. For a moment, there was confusion. Aizen's memories clashing with nothingness, hundreds of years of experience slamming into the raw, new mind of a child. The pain was sharp but brief. Aizen wasn't in control, not really. He was more like a passenger, memories swirling under the surface. Naruto's baby mind pushed back against the strange presence but didn't reject it. Instead, it wrapped around the foreign soul, pulling it in, mixing it with everything that made Naruto himself. In that moment, something new was born, someone who was both and neither. The baby's eyes opened again. This time they seemed even brighter, almost shining. Kushina rocked him gently, humming a lullaby, not noticing how those blue eyes tracked every movement in the room with a strange focus. Meanwhile, outside the hospital, Minato was everywhere at once. He moved so fast he seemed to flicker between the streets, saving people from falling debris, dodging the monster's claws. Every time he used the flying thunder god technique, it was like reality bent for a second, but even he was struggling to keep up. He landed beside two ANBU, eyes hard. Where's the enemy? One ANBU pointed toward the Kyuubi, which was rampaging through the main square. We're trying to get civilians out, sir, but someone's controlling the fox. Minato didn't waste time. He was already running again, sealing tags in his hands, mind spinning through possible plans. All he could think about was his family, Kushina, and his newborn son. He couldn't let them die. Not tonight. But he had no idea that the real danger was already in the hospital. Kushina heard footsteps in the hall. She clutched Naruto to her chest, glancing at the door with wide, fearful eyes. The handle turned and a man in a swirling mask stepped in, eyes glinting. She recognized him instantly. You. Tobai didn't waste words. He moved with inhuman speed, grabbing Naruto out of her arms in a blink. Kushina screamed, trying to reach for her baby, but pain tore through her body. Tobai vanished and Kushina slumped back, sobbing. Minato felt the disturbance. In a flash, he appeared in the room, eyes wild. Kushina, where Naruto? She could barely speak. He took him. Minato didn't hesitate. He used the flying thunder god again, following the chakra signature of his son. The world seemed to spin around him, but all he cared about was getting Naruto back. He reappeared outside in a field on the edge of the village. The Kyuubi was close, its tails smashing everything in sight. Tobai stood there, Naruto in his arms, waiting. Minato glared at him, fists clenched. Let him go. Tobai's voice was cold. You're late, fourth Hokage. They clashed faster than any normal eye could follow. Minato fought with everything he had, desperate to protect his family. He managed to grab Naruto and teleport away, dodging a deadly strike from Tobai at the last second. But the cost was high. The Kyuubi broke free, rampaging toward the village center. Kushina stumbled out of the hospital, bleeding and weak but determined. She found Minato, Naruto in his arms, standing at the edge of a massive crater. The fox loomed over them, pure rage and power. Minato handed Naruto to Kushina, hands shaking. We have to seal the Kyuubi, it's the only way. Kushina nodded. She didn't want to die, she didn't want to leave her son, but she knew what needed to be done. Minato summoned the death god, the Shinigami. The air grew cold, the world seemed to freeze. Naruto was still just a baby, but as the Shinigami appeared, he went silent. The strange presence inside him, Aizen, could sense the being's power, and even though he had no control, he felt a flicker of unease. The Shinigami's gaze fell on the boy, and for a moment the god paused. It could feel the otherworldly energy inside Naruto, the hint of another reality, the tangled mess of two souls. The Shinigami reached for the Kyuubi, dragging its enormous chakra into Naruto. The sealing jutsu glowed on the baby's stomach. As the fox's power rushed in, the foreign soul inside Naruto twisted, flaring up like a flare in the darkness. For a split second, the seal almost failed. The power inside the boy was too much, too strange. But Minato poured every ounce of his will into the jutsu. Please, let him live, let him be strong enough. The Shinigami did as it was told, but something changed. A hairline crack appeared on its mask, almost invisible. The god had never seen a soul quite like this before. Minato and Kushina both collapsed, their energy spent, their lives traded for the safety of the village and their son. In her last moments, Kushina pulled Naruto close, whispering softly, "Be good, grow up strong, we love you, Naruto." Naruto was too young to understand, but the words burned into his memory. Somewhere deep inside, the foreign presence, Aizen felt a strange, unfamiliar emotion. Was this what love felt like? He didn't know, but he wanted to find out. The night dragged on. The Kyuubi's rampage was over, but the damage was everywhere. People cried in the streets, searching for loved ones. Smoke drifted over the rooftops. Hiruzen Sarutobi, the third Hokage, found Naruto at the center of the chaos. The baby was crying, alone on a blanket. Hiruzen knelt down, picking him up gently. He looked into those strange blue eyes, feeling a chill run down his spine. The child's gaze was sharp, almost adult for a second. Hiruzen blinked and the moment was gone. The baby just cried, clutching at his robe with tiny hands. Hiruzen sighed, holding Naruto close. "You poor boy, already you've lost so much." He wrapped Naruto in a warm blanket, careful not to disturb the fresh seal on his stomach. All around them, people began to gather, whispering about the monster's defeat and the cost it had taken. As Hiruzen carried Naruto through the ruined streets, he glanced back at the place where Minato and Kushina had died. He promised himself he would protect this boy, no matter what. But deep inside Naruto, something was changing. The two souls, Naruto's pure and new, Aizen's old and calculating, curled around each other. The newborn's mind was still in control, but the memories and ideas bubbling beneath the surface would never truly go away. Somewhere in his dreams, Naruto saw flashes of another world, a tall tower, endless rows of men kneeling, a sword with a curved blade gleaming in the light. He didn't know what it meant, but the images haunted him, swirling just out of reach. The Shinigami lingered for a moment longer, its eyes fixed on Naruto. The mask's crack seemed to pulse. It could feel the weight of what it had just done, a hole torn between worlds, a thread tying things together that should have stayed apart. The god muttered in an ancient language, then faded away, leaving the world a little colder. Naruto slept through most of the aftermath. He didn't remember the pain or the ceiling or the monsters. He only knew the warmth of his mother's arms, the bright eyes of his father, the strange sense of being watched. But sometimes, when he closed his eyes, he felt a second presence in the back of his mind. Not an enemy, not exactly a friend, but something that understood loneliness better than anyone else. In the weeks that followed, the village mourned its losses and tried to rebuild. Naruto grew quickly, already showing signs of stubbornness and energy. The villagers eyed him with suspicion, whispering about the fox inside him. Naruto didn't notice, he was too young. But sometimes he would stare at his reflection in the window, his blue eyes narrowing. If anyone else had been watching, they might have sworn the reflection moved just a second after he did. Sometimes, when he cried, the room seemed to shimmer for a moment, as if the world itself was looking the other way. And sometimes, in the quietest hours of the night, the baby would smile, a little too knowingly for anyone to understand. Naruto Uzumaki didn't remember the night the Kyuubi attacked. He didn't remember his parents, their voices, or the cold presence that had watched over him as a baby. All he knew were the empty rooms of the orphanage and the way people looked at him when they thought he wasn't watching. Their stares were sharp, suspicious, and sometimes downright cruel, but Naruto had learned quickly not to let it show that he cared. Naruto didn't look like the other kids. His hair was brighter, his eyes sharper. The whisker marks on his cheeks made people whisper, and even the old women selling fruit in the market sometimes looked at him like he might bite. But Naruto never let it get him down for long. He had a spirit that seemed to bounce back no matter what. Sometimes, when he felt especially lonely, a strange comfort settled inside his chest, like someone was whispering, "You're not alone." He didn't know where the feeling came from. He just accepted it, the way you accept that the sky is blue or that ramen is the best food in the world. Naruto's earliest memory was of the orphanage matron scolding him for drawing on the walls. She had a sharp tongue, but Naruto couldn't help himself. He'd drawn a huge fox, its tails swirling around a tiny boy with spiky hair. When she yelled at him, he stuck out his tongue and ran away, feeling an odd thrill of defiance. He got in trouble a lot. If there was a puddle of paint spilled, people blamed Naruto. If the laundry ended up in the trees, it was always Naruto. If a frog appeared in someone's soup at breakfast, they all looked at Naruto, even if he had nothing to do with it that time. But Naruto never let it stop him. He turned pranking into an art. He learned which floorboards squeaked and which didn't, how to tie knots that were almost impossible to untangle, and how to climb out the window without anyone hearing. He became an expert at sneaking around, hiding, and making people laugh, even if most of the time they were laughing at him, not with him. But sometimes, even when Naruto was caught red-handed, the punishment never came. There were moments when the matron would walk right by him, not seeing him at all. Sometimes the adults would forget he was there, their eyes sliding off him as if he was part of the furniture. The first few times it happened, Naruto thought he was just lucky. But as he got older, he realized it was more than that. Sometimes, when he really wanted to be invisible, the world seemed to listen. He didn't tell anyone about it, not even the other kids. He didn't really have friends, not real ones. Most of the other orphans ignored him or teased him. They said he was weird or cursed. Naruto laughed it off, but deep down it hurt. He wanted someone to notice him, to really see him. On his 7th birthday, Naruto snuck out of the orphanage before dawn. He crept through the village, careful to avoid the early patrols. He loved Konoha in the morning, before the streets filled with people. It felt like the whole place belonged to him. He stopped at the ramen stand, peering inside. Chuchai, the owner, was just starting to prep for the day. Naruto's stomach growled and he pressed his face to the glass, hoping for a miracle. Chuchai noticed him and smiled. "Hey Naruto, up early again." Naruto grinned. "Couldn't sleep, do you have any leftovers?" Chuchai shook his head, but he didn't look mad. "Not yet, come back later and I'll make you something special. Birthday, right?" Naruto's eyes widened. "You remembered." "Of course," Chuchai winked. "How could I forget?" Naruto skipped away, feeling lighter. For a moment, he wasn't the village outcast. He was just a kid with a birthday. The rest of the day didn't go as well. He tried to join a game of tag with the other kids in the square, but they ignored him, running past like he wasn't even there. One boy, a tall kid with mean eyes, tripped him on purpose. Naruto tumbled into the dirt, skinning his knees. The other kids laughed and ran off. Naruto sat in the dirt, fists clenched. He didn't want to cry, not in front of them. He bit his lip, holding it all in. "I'll show them," he muttered. "I'll become Hokage one day, then everyone will have to see me." A strange warmth filled his chest, steadying him. For just a second, he felt like someone was standing behind him, hand on his shoulder. The feeling faded, but the anger stayed. He picked himself up and dusted himself off, already planning his next prank. That afternoon, Naruto snuck into the academy's practice yard. The school was closed for cleaning, but he didn't care. He loved the place when it was empty. He could imagine himself as a real ninja, the best in the village. He threw a few kunai at the target, missing most of the time. He tried to copy the hand signs he'd seen the older kids use, but nothing happened. He wasn't very good at ninjutsu yet, but he never gave up. If anything, the challenge made him more determined. He heard voices and ducked behind a tree. A pair of boys, Choji Akimichi and Shikamaru Nara, were sneaking snacks. Naruto watched them for a minute, jealous. They seemed so comfortable together, like they belonged. Choji noticed him first. "Hey, is that Naruto?" Shikamaru sighed. "Yeah, what a drag." Naruto grinned and stepped out from behind the tree. "What are you guys doing?" Choji stuffed his face with chips. "Snack break, want some?" Naruto's stomach rumbled and he nodded eagerly. "Sure." Shikamaru rolled his eyes but tossed him a rice ball. "Don't tell anyone, okay?" Naruto nodded, stuffing his mouth full. For a few minutes they just sat together, eating in silence. It wasn't exactly friendship, but it was close. When Choji finished, he patted Naruto on the back. "You should come eat with us more often." Naruto beamed. "Really?" "Yeah, you're funny." Shikamaru shrugged. "Just don't get us in trouble." Naruto grinned wider. "No promises." For the first time in a long time, Naruto felt like maybe he wasn't totally alone. Later that day, Naruto decided to get some payback on the kids who'd tripped him. He waited until they were playing marbles behind the bakery, then snuck up behind them. He pulled a handful of itching powder from his pocket, a leftover from his last prank gone wrong, and sprinkled it on their shirts. Within minutes, the boys were scratching like crazy, rolling on the ground and shouting. Naruto laughed so hard he almost fell over. Choji and Shikamaru watched from a distance, both shaking their heads. "Man, you're gonna get in so much trouble," Shikamaru muttered. "Worth it," Naruto said, wiping tears from his eyes. But when the angry boys tried to chase him down, something strange happened. As Naruto ran, he ducked around a corner, pressing himself against the wall. The kids rushed past, not even glancing in his direction. Naruto waited, holding his breath. They kept running, searching everywhere but right where he was. He felt the odd, tingling sensation he always got when people ignored him. It wasn't just luck, he knew that now. It was like he could make himself invisible if he wanted it badly enough. He didn't question it, he just enjoyed the freedom it gave him. As the sun set, Naruto wandered the village, trying not to think too hard about why people avoided him. He watched families eating dinner through their windows, listened to laughter and music drifting through the streets. He wanted to belong, to be part of something. He found himself at the edge of the forest where the village met the trees. It was quiet here, peaceful. Naruto liked the way the wind sounded in the branches, the way the last bits of sunlight filtered through the leaves. He sat on a fallen log, kicking his feet. "One day, I'll have a family too," he said quietly. I'll show everyone I'm not just the demon fox. The strange comfort washed over him again, almost like a silent voice saying, "You're right, you're more than that." Naruto didn't understand it, but it made him feel better. He took out his notebook and started to draw. He wasn't very good, but he liked making shapes on the paper. Today, he found himself sketching a sword, a long, thin blade with a curved edge. He didn't know where the image came from, it just felt right. When he finished, he stared at the sword, running his finger along the drawing. It felt familiar, like something from a dream. The next morning, Naruto woke up early, eager for another day of adventure. The orphanage was quiet, most of the kids still asleep. He tiptoed to the kitchen, hoping to snag some leftovers before anyone caught him. He was halfway through a cold rice ball when the matron walked in, frowning. "Naruto, what are you doing in here?" He froze, mouthful, nothing." She sighed, rubbing her temples. "Just don't make a mess and don't bother the other children." Naruto nodded, grabbing another rice ball and sneaking out the back door. He spent the morning running errands for a few of the shopkeepers who didn't hate him. One of them, a kind old man who ran the hardware store, gave him a bag of nails to deliver across town. "Be careful with those, Naruto," the man warned. "Don't poke yourself." Naruto grinned. "I got it, old man." He took off at a run, zigzagging through the alleys. He liked being useful, even if most people didn't trust him. The shopkeeper's kindness made him feel warm inside. On his way back, Naruto noticed a group of bullies picking on a smaller kid near the riverbank. The smaller boy was crying, and the bullies were laughing, pushing him around. Naruto didn't even think. He marched over, hands on his hips. "Hey, leave him alone." The bullies turned, sizing him up. "Or what, demon?" Naruto felt his anger boil up. He tried to glare them down, but they just laughed. Suddenly, Naruto felt a weird pressure in his head, like something pushing out from behind his eyes. He blinked, and for a split second, the world seemed to shimmer. The bullies looked confused. One of them scratched his head. "Where'd he go?" The others looked around, not seeing Naruto standing right in front of them. Naruto stared, not sure what was happening. The small boy blinked, then scrambled away, unnoticed. Naruto watched as the bullies wandered off, scratching their heads. When he was sure they were gone, Naruto let out a shaky breath. He looked down at his hands, flexing his fingers. What was that? He didn't have an answer, but he knew it had something to do with the feeling he got when people ignored him. It was like he could make people forget he was there just by wanting it. That night, Naruto lay in bed, staring at the ceiling. The orphanage was quiet, the only sound the gentle snoring of the other kids. Naruto felt restless. He kept thinking about the bullies, about how they looked right through him. It was scary, but also kind of exciting. He rolled over, glancing at the window. His reflection stared back at him, blue eyes shining in the moonlight. He squinted, leaning closer. For a second, it looked like his reflection was smiling at him, a slow, sly smile that didn't match the way he felt. Naruto blinked, rubbing his eyes. When he looked again, his reflection was normal, just a tired, lonely kid. But as he drifted off to sleep, he could have sworn he heard a voice, low and quiet, whisper in his ear, "We're not alone." Naruto shivered, pulling the blanket up to his chin. He didn't know if he should be scared or comforted, maybe both. He dreamed of a tall tower, endless halls, and a sea of faceless people bowing at his feet. In the dream, he was holding the curved sword from his drawing, and the world bent to his will. He woke up before dawn, heart pounding, unsure what it all meant. Over the next few days, Naruto kept noticing strange things. He'd sneak out of chores, only to find the adults forgetting he was gone. He pranked the baker by switching the salt and sugar, and no one could figure out how it happened, even though he was right there in the shop. He started to believe he really was invisible sometimes, at least to people who weren't looking for him. But he didn't tell anyone, not Chaoji, not Shikamaru, not even Tyucha at the ramen stand. He kept his secret close, afraid someone might take it away if they knew. School at the academy was the same as always. The teachers ignored him unless he caused trouble. The other students whispered behind his back, but Naruto tried not to let it bother him. He threw himself into his studies, determined to graduate and become a real ninja. Uruka Yumino, his homeroom teacher, was one of the only adults who treated him kindly. Uruka was tough but fair, and he never let anyone pick on Naruto in class. When Naruto got in trouble, Uruka talked to him instead of yelling. One afternoon, after Naruto pulled a prank that left the blackboard covered in pink paint, Uruka called him to stay after class. Naruto slouched at his desk, expecting a lecture. Uruka sat down across from him, sighing, "Why do you do it, Naruto?" Naruto looked away. "Do what?" "The pranks, the jokes, the troublemaking." Naruto shrugged. "No one notices me unless I'm causing trouble." Uruka's face softened. "That's not true, I notice you." Naruto looked up, surprised. "Really?" Uruka nodded. "You work harder than anyone else, Naruto. You never give up, even when everyone's against you. That's not something to be ashamed of." Naruto felt a lump in his throat. He tried to hide it with a grin. "You're not so bad, Uruka-sensei." Uruka smiled, ruffling Naruto's hair. "Just try to stay out of trouble, okay?" Naruto nodded, but he knew it wouldn't be that easy. Trouble seemed to follow him wherever he went. One evening, as Naruto was walking home, he noticed a group of men in dark uniforms watching him from the shadows. They didn't look like normal villagers. They moved quietly, eyes cold and calculating. Naruto felt a chill run down his spine. He ducked into an alley, heart pounding. He'd seen those men before, always lurking just out of sight. He decided to test his luck. He pressed himself against the wall, willing himself to be invisible. The men walked right by, not even glancing in his direction. Naruto waited until they were gone, then slipped out the back way, running all the way to the orphanage. He didn't know who those men were, but he didn't want to find out. That night, Naruto stared at his sketchbook, flipping through the pages. He stopped at the drawing of the sword, tracing the lines with his finger. As he touched the page, a strange surge ran through him. The lines on the paper seemed to shimmer, almost glowing for a split second. Naruto jerked his hand back, heart racing. He stared at the drawing, half expecting it to move, but it stayed still, just ink on paper. He lay back on his bed, staring at the ceiling. The village was quiet, the world outside his window peaceful for once. But deep inside, something was changing. Naruto could feel it, a growing power, a strange sense of being watched, and the comforting, unsettling feeling that he was never truly alone. As he drifted off to sleep, he heard the whisper again, a little louder this time, "We're not alone." Naruto didn't know what it meant, but he knew one thing for sure: whatever it was only just beginning. Naruto always dreamed, but lately the dreams were different. Most nights he saw flashes of places he'd never been: endless white corridors, tall glass towers, swirling cloaks, faces he didn't recognize. Sometimes he was standing at the top of a dark, impossibly high tower, looking down at hundreds of silent people kneeling at his feet. Their heads were bowed, their faces were hidden in shadows. Other times he held a sword, not a normal ninja blade, but something long and elegant, with a gently curved edge and a hilt he didn't know how to describe. The sword felt heavy and right in his hand. It felt important, like it belonged to him. He always woke up before anything happened. He'd open his eyes in the dark, sweating, his heart pounding as if he'd run a race. Then he'd lie there, staring at the ceiling, trying to remember the faces, the voices, the way the sword had felt. But every morning, the memories faded, slipping away before he could hold on. Naruto was getting tired of feeling confused. He was tired of feeling left out, tired of the way the other kids stared at him, tired of always being the one left behind. He was determined to change things. The only problem was he didn't know how. He tried to focus on school, but the academy wasn't easy for him. His grades were bad, his ninjutsu was worse, and the teachers mostly ignored him except for Uruka. Naruto knew some of it was his fault. He couldn't sit still and he got distracted by the smallest things, but some of it just felt unfair. Today, he sat in the back row, doodling in his notebook while the teacher droned on about chakra control and the theory behind the clone jutsu. Naruto had already failed that jutsu 3 times this week, and the thought of another try made his stomach twist. He turned the page, ignoring the lecture, and started to sketch. At first, he drew his usual scribbles: frogs, bowls of ramen, his dream of becoming Hokage. But soon, his hand started to move on its own, almost like it had a mind of its own. The lines took shape, forming the now familiar sword from his dreams. He drew the blade, the gentle curve, the strange hilt, the small symbols etched along the side. He didn't know what the symbols meant, but he drew them anyway. When he was finished, he stared at the sketch, feeling a strange sense of pride and something else. longing maybe. "Hey, what are you drawing?" someone whispered. Naruto jerked, slamming the notebook closed. He glanced over to see Choji craning his neck, crumbs on his shirt. "Nothing," Naruto muttered, hiding the book under his arm. Shikamaru glanced up from his half-finished worksheet, raising an eyebrow. "You always look weird when you do that." Naruto tried to laugh it off. "You're weird." Shikamaru just shrugged, putting his head down to nap. Choji grinned and offered Naruto a chip. Naruto took it, grateful for the distraction. After class, Uruka caught Naruto before he could escape. "Uzumaki, stay back a minute." Naruto groaned but trudged up to Uruka's desk, expecting another lecture. But Uruka didn't look angry, he looked worried. "You've been distracted lately," Uruka said quietly. "Is something bothering you?" Naruto hesitated. He wanted to say yes, to spill everything, the dreams, the strange things that kept happening, the way the world sometimes seemed to shift when he wanted it to, but he couldn't find the words. He shrugged, "Just tired, I guess." Uruka studied him for a long moment, then nodded. "If you ever need to talk, I'm here, you know that, right?" Naruto looked up surprised. "Really?" Uruka smiled, softening. "Really?" Naruto felt a lump in his throat, but he covered it with a grin. "Thanks, Uruka-sensei." Uruka ruffled his hair like always. "Get home safe, Naruto." Naruto nodded and headed out, the sketchbook clutched tightly under his arm. That night, Naruto lay in bed, staring at the ceiling. He couldn't sleep. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw that tower, that sword, those shadows. He rolled over and grabbed his notebook, flipping to the sword sketch. The lines seemed to shimmer in the moonlight. He ran his finger over the blade, wishing he could remember what it felt like to hold it in his dreams. He set the book down and closed his eyes, willing himself to dream again. This time the dream came faster, stronger. He was in a huge white room, so bright it hurt his eyes. Dozens of people in black robes stood around him, faces hidden by shadows. In his hand, the sword felt solid, almost alive. He looked down, and the symbols on the blade seemed to glow. He heard a voice, soft and distant. "All things in this world are an illusion, even your pain." Naruto turned, searching for the source of the voice, but the dream started to unravel. The people faded away. The sword grew heavy, slipping from his grip. He woke up gasping, sweat running down his face. The room was still dark, the only light from the moon outside his window. He pressed a hand to his chest, feeling his heart race. He whispered to himself, "It's just a dream, just a dream." But deep down, he knew it was more than that. The next morning, Naruto stumbled into class, exhausted. He barely paid attention as the teacher reviewed transformation techniques, and when it was time to practice, he messed up every hand sign. Sakura rolled her eyes. "Honestly, Naruto, can't you get anything right?" Naruto forced a grin. "I just don't want to make everyone else look bad." Sasuke, sitting on the other side of the room, barely glanced up from his notebook. Naruto glared at him, wishing he could wipe the smug look off Sasuke's face. Everyone liked Sasuke. Everyone ignored Naruto. It wasn't fair. Uruka walked over, kneeling beside Naruto as he struggled with the hand signs. "Relax, Naruto, don't force it. Chakra is like water, you have to let it flow." Naruto tried again, concentrating. This time the clone appeared, but it was pale and limp, falling over with a thud. The class burst out laughing. Naruto flushed, fists clenched, but Uruka only patted him on the back. "Not bad, you're getting closer, keep practicing." Naruto grinned, feeling a little better. That afternoon, Naruto skipped lunch and wandered the village, sketchbook in hand. He ended up by the river, sitting on the bank with his feet in the water. He pulled out his notebook and stared at the sword. The urge to draw it had grown stronger, almost like the sword was calling to him. He drew it again, this time from memory. He added more details, more symbols. When he finished, he stared at the drawing, feeling the strange comfort that always came when he was alone. "Why do I keep seeing you?" he whispered to the sword. The river was quiet, the breeze gentle. For a moment, Naruto swore he heard a faint whisper in the wind. "Because you're not alone." He shivered and closed the notebook, hugging it to his chest. As the days passed, Naruto's dreams grew more vivid. Sometimes he saw himself standing at the head of a group of ninja, giving commands. Other times he stood alone in a cold, empty room, staring into a mirror that didn't show his face. Instead, it showed someone else, someone older with calm eyes and a smile that didn't quite reach his eyes. Naruto woke up each time, heart pounding, sweat beading on his forehead. The dreams left him more tired than before, but he didn't dare tell anyone. He was scared the teachers would think he was crazy, or worse, that he really was the monster everyone whispered about. But there was another part of him, quiet, steady, patient, that told him not to worry, that this was all just the beginning. One afternoon, Naruto headed to the training ground behind the academy. He found Choji and Shikamaru lounging under a tree, sharing snacks. "Hey guys," Naruto called, waving. Choji waved back, mouth full. "Wanna try some chips?" Naruto grinned and dropped down beside them. Shikamaru barely glanced up. "Long day?" Naruto asked, grabbing a chip. Shikamaru sighed. "Every day is long." Naruto snorted. "You're so lazy." Choji laughed, almost choking on his food. "He's always like that." They sat together in comfortable silence, watching the clouds drift by. For a little while, Naruto almost forgot about his dreams, his loneliness, everything that made him different. But then he heard voices on the other side of the field. A group of older boys was picking on a younger student, shoving him around. Naruto's hands clenched. He hated bullies. He jumped to his feet, ready to rush over, but Shikamaru caught his sleeve. "It's not worth it, Naruto," he said quietly. Naruto shook him off. "It is to me." He marched across the field, standing tall. "Leave him alone." The older boys turned, sneering. "What are you gonna do, demon?" Naruto glared, feeling that weird pressure behind his eyes again. For a second, the world seemed to shimmer. The bullies blinked, confused, their eyes sliding past Naruto as if he wasn't there. Naruto stepped between them and the younger kid, shielding him. The bullies shook their heads, mumbling to each other, then wandered away, looking lost. The younger boy stared at Naruto, wide-eyed. "How did you do that?" Naruto grinned, trying to act cool. "Just lucky, I guess." He walked the boy back to the academy, feeling the strange power fading. When he returned to Choji and Shikamaru, they looked at him curiously. "How do you do that?" Choji asked. "They didn't even see you." Naruto shrugged. "No idea, maybe I'm just that good." Shikamaru watched him for a long moment, then looked away. Troublesome. That night, Naruto stayed up late, staring at his sketchbook. He traced the sword again and again, trying to remember the way it felt in his dream. When he finally set the book down, his fingers tingled, and for a second the blade on the page seemed to glow. He jerked his hand back, heart racing. "What the?" He stared at the drawing, half expecting it to move. It didn't. He lay back on his bed, feeling the weight of the day. He was so tired, but he couldn't sleep. He closed his eyes, willing the dreams to come. This time, the dream was different. He stood in a dark room, shadows swirling around him. A tall figure stepped out of the darkness, face hidden by the brim of a hat. The figure held out a sword, the same sword from Naruto's sketch. "Take it," the figure whispered. Naruto reached out, his hand trembling. The moment his fingers touched the hilt, a surge of power rushed through him. The world exploded in light. He woke up with a gasp, clutching his chest. His heart thundered. He glanced at his desk where his notebook sat. The sword was just a drawing, but it felt real somehow. The next day, Naruto woke up feeling different. He felt stronger, more confident. He walked to the academy with his head held high. He breezed through the morning lesson, surprising even himself. He managed the clone jutsu on the first try, sort of. The clone looked more like a balloon animal than a real person, but it didn't flop over, and for Naruto, that was a win. Iruka smiled, clapping him on the back. "Good job, Naruto, keep it up." Sasuke watched from across the room, expression unreadable. At lunch, Naruto sat with Choji and Shikamaru under their favorite tree. He pulled out his sketchbook, showing them the sword. "Cool drawing," Choji said, chewing a rice ball. "What's it for?" Naruto hesitated. "I dunno, it just feels important." Shikamaru leaned over, squinting at the symbols. "Weird, never seen a sword like that." Naruto grinned. "Me neither." He snapped the book shut, tucking it away. Meanwhile, deep in the shadows of the village, masked men moved through the trees. They were quiet, careful, invisible to most, but not to everyone. Root watched Naruto, reporting every move to their leader, Danzo. They'd noticed the strange chakra surges, the way people seemed to forget the boy's presence, the growing rumors of his luck. One agent whispered, his chakra fluctuates, it's almost doubled. Another nodded, he drew a seal yesterday on paper, it pulsed with chakra. Danzo listened, eyes cold, keep watching, the boy is dangerous, if he awakens further, report to me immediately. The agents nodded, melting back into the shadows. That evening, Naruto wandered the village, restless. He felt eyes on him, but every time he turned there was nothing there. He shrugged it off, heading home. He stopped at the ramen stand, waving at Tyuchai. Hey old man, got any leftovers? Tyuchai grinned, for you, always. Naruto grinned, hopping onto the stool. I am Tyuchai's daughter, slid a bowl in front of him, smiling. You look tired, Naruto, she said kindly. Naruto slurped his noodles, grinning, just working hard. Tyuchai ruffled his hair, that's what I like to hear. Naruto finished his meal, feeling better than he had all day. As he left, he waved back at the pair, promising to visit again soon. That night, as Naruto lay in bed, he stared at his ceiling. The dreams would come again, he could feel it. He wasn't scared anymore, he was curious. He wanted to know what the sword meant, what the tower was, why he kept seeing those people bowing to him. He reached for his sketchbook, running his finger over the sword one more time. This time, as he touched the drawing, his chakra surged. He felt it, a jolt like static electricity, rush up his arm. The world seemed to twist for a second. His vision doubled, then cleared. He sat up, breathing hard. Somewhere deep inside, he heard a whisper, "You're getting closer." Naruto smiled, for once not feeling alone. He didn't know what was happening to him, but he knew one thing, he was ready to find out. Meanwhile, in a shadowy office deep underground, Danzo read the latest report. Strange chakra signatures, subject displays unconscious genjutsu, potential risk to the village. Danzo's eyes narrowed. Bring me everything you find, do not approach the boy yet, he may be the weapon we need or the threat we must destroy. The agent bowed and slipped away. Naruto drifted off to sleep, dreaming of swords and towers and power. But this time, when he looked in the mirror in his dream, he saw not a stranger, but himself, smiling back. And for the first time, the smile felt real. Naruto bounced down the dusty road toward the ninja academy, his mind racing. Today was the day, graduation day. The sun was barely up, but his stomach was already in knots. It felt like everything he'd worked for was riding on this one morning. He tried to keep his spirits up, grinning and waving at everyone he passed, even if most of them pretended not to see him. He didn't care, this was his shot to finally be taken seriously, to prove to the village and himself that he belonged. And if he passed today, he'd finally get a real ninja headband. He practically sprinted through the academy gates, pausing to catch his breath just inside the door. The hallways were buzzing with excitement and nerves. Everyone was talking about the test, who would pass, who might fail, which teams they wanted to be on. Naruto forced himself not to listen to the whispers. He headed straight for his usual seat in the back of the classroom. Sakura was already there, chatting with Ino by the window. Sasuke sat a few rows ahead, arms folded, scowling like he always did. Choji and Shikamaru waved at Naruto as he passed, and he grinned back, settling into his chair. He could feel his heart pounding in his chest. Uruka entered the room, clipboard in hand. His eyes swept over the students, lingering on Naruto for just a second longer than the rest. Naruto sat up straighter, trying to look confident. All right, everyone, Uruka said. Today's test will be the clone jutsu. You each get one chance. Do your best. Naruto's stomach did a flip. Of all the jutsu, the clone technique was his worst. He'd been practicing for weeks, but most of his clones came out half dead or looking like they'd melted. Still, he had a plan, a trick he'd saved just for today. If he pulled it off, maybe he could finally surprise everyone. Uruka started calling names one by one. Students went up to the front, performed their jutsu, and received either a nod or a quiet shake of the head. Sakura's clones were perfect, of course, and even Sasuke made it look easy. Naruto's turn was near the end. By the time Uruka called his name, his palms were slick with sweat. He marched to the front, trying to look braver than he felt. The room went quiet. Uruka gave him an encouraging smile. Whenever you're ready, Naruto. Naruto closed his eyes, took a deep breath, and made the hand signs. This time he focused as hard as he could, not just on the jutsu, but on that strange, hidden part of himself. The part that felt like it was watching from behind his eyes. Clone jutsu, he shouted. A puff of smoke filled the air. When it cleared, two clones stood on either side of him, sort of. One was pale and wobbly, the other a little too tall, like it had been stretched, but they were both upright and neither had flopped over. Naruto waited, holding his breath. Uruka looked at him for a long moment, then nodded slowly. "Good effort, Naruto, you pass." Naruto nearly exploded with relief. He pumped his fist, unable to keep the grin off his face. For the first time in forever, it felt like things were finally going his way. After the ceremony, Uruka handed out headbands to each new graduate. Naruto cradled his in his hands, staring at the symbol of the leaf engraved in the metal. He tied it around his forehead, trying to make it look cool. It felt heavier than he expected, a real ninja's badge. He found Choji and Shikamaru waiting for him in the hallway. "Congrats, Naruto," Choji said, clapping him on the back so hard Naruto nearly fell over. "Told you you'd make it," Shikamaru said, smirking. "Now you'll have to actually do homework, you know." Naruto made a face, "Don't remind me." The three of them headed out together, laughing and joking as they went. Naruto felt a warmth in his chest he hadn't felt in a long time. But as the sun dipped lower, a shadow fell over the village. Someone was waiting for Naruto. Later that evening, after everyone else had gone home, Naruto wandered the streets, headband shining in the sunset. He wanted to tell the whole village he was a ninja now. He even imagined what it would be like if his parents could see him, standing proud with his new headband. As he passed the academy, he spotted Mizuki leaning against the wall, arms crossed. Mizuki was one of the other teachers, but Naruto had always thought he was a little too friendly, always promising shortcuts or special advice. Today, Mizuki wore a strange, forced smile. "Hey Naruto," Mizuki called, waving him over. "Congratulations on passing." Naruto stopped, surprised. "You really mean it?" "Of course, I've always believed in you," Mizuki said smoothly. "Actually, I was hoping you'd help me with something. There's a special scroll in the Hokage's office, advanced stuff for top students. If you get it for me, I'll show you a jutsu that will blow everyone away." Naruto's eyes went wide. "Really? Like a secret jutsu?" Mizuki nodded. "Exactly, but you have to be quick and quiet. Think you can handle it?" Naruto nodded eagerly. "Leave it to me." He didn't notice the cold glint in Mizuki's eyes as he took off toward the Hokage's tower. Naruto crept through the shadows, feeling more like a real ninja than ever before. The Hokage's office was dark and quiet. He slipped inside, heart pounding, and searched for the scroll Mizuki had described. It didn't take long to find a big scroll wrapped in red ribbon resting on the top shelf. He grabbed it, tucking it under his arm, and slipped out the window as quietly as he could. He raced to the meeting spot in the woods behind the village, barely able to contain his excitement. Mizuki had said this was his chance to learn something amazing, something that would make him a legend. When he reached the clearing, he unrolled the scroll and started reading. The first technique was the shadow clone jutsu. Naruto's eyes widened. He'd heard rumors about this, but everyone said it was impossible for academy students. Still, he wanted to try. He formed the hand signs, focusing harder than he ever had before. Shadow clone jutsu. A puff of smoke exploded around him. This time, when the smoke cleared, there were 3 perfect copies of himself standing in the clearing. Naruto's jaw dropped. The clones grinned back at him, all sharing the same shocked look. He laughed, jumping up and down. "I did it, I really did it." The clones jumped with him, high-fiving each other. He practiced until he was out of breath, making more and more clones, pushing himself until he collapsed in the grass, exhausted and happy. He didn't know how much time had passed, but eventually he heard footsteps in the woods. He sat up, clutching the scroll to his chest. Mizuki stepped into the clearing, a wide grin on his face. But this time the grin looked wrong, too sharp, too eager. "Did you get it?" Mizuki asked, eyes flicking to the scroll. Naruto nodded, still catching his breath. "Yeah, and look, I learned the shadow clone jutsu." He formed the hand signs, creating 4 perfect clones around him. Mizuki's eyes widened in surprise, but then he started to laugh. "Good, Naruto, very good. Now hand over the scroll." Naruto hesitated, something felt off. He clutched the scroll tighter. "What do you need it for anyway?" Naruto asked. Mizuki's smile faded, his eyes turned cold. "Don't be stupid, kid. That scroll is full of forbidden jutsu, things nobody in this village wants you to know. You're just a tool." Naruto stared at him, confused and a little scared. Give me the scroll, Naruto, Mizuki said, voice dropping, or I'll take it from you. Naruto backed away, clutching the scroll. No, Uruka-sensei trusted me, he said I could be a real ninja. Mizuki's face twisted with anger. You want the truth? You're not a ninja, you're just the nine-tailed fox in disguise. Everyone hates you, they always have. Naruto felt like he'd been punched in the guts. The words rang in his head, echoing with every doubt and fear he'd ever had. Mizuki took a step forward, pulling a giant shuriken from his back. Give it to me, now. Naruto froze, his mind spinning. The clones vanished in puffs of smoke. Then out of the darkness, Uruka appeared, stepping between Naruto and Mizuki. That's enough, Mizuki, Uruka shouted, eyes blazing. You're not getting that scroll or Naruto. Mizuki sneered, get out of the way, Uruka, you know what he is. Uruka shook his head. He's not the fox, he's Naruto Uzumaki, a student and someone I believe in. Mizuki snarled, hurling the shuriken. Uruka dove, tackling Naruto to the ground as the blade whistled overhead. They landed hard, Uruka shielding Naruto with his body. Naruto looked up, tears stinging his eyes. Uruka-sensei, why? Uruka smiled even though he was bleeding. Because you're important to me, because I know what it's like to be alone. You're not the fox, Naruto, you're you. Naruto stared at Uruka, feeling something shift inside him. The pain and fear melted away, replaced by something fierce and bright. Behind his eyes, that strange, cold presence woke up, a memory, a fragment of something old and powerful. He could feel it swirling inside him, gathering strength. Mizuki charged, screaming. Naruto pushed Uruka aside, standing tall. Get away from my teacher, Naruto shouted. He formed the hand signs, channeling everything, his chakra, his anger, his hope, and that strange presence inside him. Shadow Clone Jutsu. A dozen clones exploded into existence, surrounding Mizuki on all sides. Mizuki swung his shuriken wildly, but the clones dodged, leaping and weaving around him. One by one, they tackled him, driving him to the ground. Naruto stood over Mizuki, fists clenched. But then something else happened, something that had nothing to do with the jutsu. A pressure filled the clearing, heavy and cold. The air seemed to thicken and Mizuki stopped moving, his eyes going wide with terror. He tried to scream, but no sound came out. It was as if invisible chains had wrapped around him, pinning him in place. Naruto felt it too, a wave of power pulsing through him. His vision blurred, and for a split second he saw the world differently, everything sharp and clear, as if every lie and every truth was revealed. Mizuki collapsed unconscious, the clones vanished, the pressure faded. Uruka crawled to Naruto's side, breathless and shocked. What was that? Naruto shook his head, trembling. I don't know. Uruka stared at him, eyes full of concern. Are you okay? Naruto nodded, but he didn't feel okay. He felt changed. Uruka hugged him, holding him tight. You did good, Naruto, I'm proud of you. Naruto closed his eyes, letting the warmth of Uruka's hug wash over him. For a moment, all the pain and confusion faded away. Later, as the sun started to rise, Uruka and Naruto sat together on a fallen log at the edge of the woods. Uruka handed Naruto his own headband. Here, Uruka said softly, you earned it. Naruto's eyes widened. He tied the headband on, feeling the weight and pride of it settle on his brow. Uruka-sensei, thank you, he whispered. Uruka smiled. Just promise me one thing, never give up on yourself. Naruto nodded, wiping his eyes. I promise. Uruka stood, stretching. Come on, let's go home. Naruto followed, clutching his new headband. That night, back in his tiny apartment, Naruto stared at his sketchbook. He flipped to the page with the sword Kyoka Suijutsu. The lines seemed sharper, clearer than ever before. He reached out, running his finger along the blade. Suddenly, his chakra surged. The room spun, colors shifting. Naruto gasped, clutching his head as 1,000 images flashed through his mind. Towers, swords, a city of spirits, faces he'd never seen, and a voice whispering in the dark. When the surge faded, Naruto slumped back, breathing hard. On the page, the sword glowed softly just for a second. Naruto stared at it, wide-eyed. He wasn't alone. Whatever was inside him, whatever was changing, was getting stronger. And for the first time, he was scared and excited at the same time. Naruto woke up before the sun, his new forehead protector shining on his nightstand. He stared at it, grinning in the half-light of his tiny apartment. He'd fallen asleep with it on, worn it all through his dreams, and only taken it off when his forehead started to itch. He still couldn't believe it was real. He was a genin, a real ninja, not just some troublemaker from the orphanage. He got dressed in a hurry, choosing his best orange jacket, the one that almost fit right. He tied his headband around his forehead and looked at himself in the cracked bathroom mirror. "Looking good, future Hawkage," he told his reflection, then stuck out his tongue for good measure. As he left, he didn't see the way his reflection lingered for a split second after he'd already turned away. Naruto jogged through the streets full of energy. Most of the villagers ignored him, but he didn't care. Today was team assignment day. Today he'd find out who he'd be working with and, if he was lucky, maybe make some real friends. He was early for once, so he stopped by Ikaraku Ramen for breakfast. Chuchai was already there, prepping for the day, and he grinned when he saw Naruto. "You're up early, Naruto," Chuchai said, ladling broth into a pot. "Big day." "Yeah," Naruto said, hopping onto a stool. "I get my team today. I hope I get to be with someone cool, maybe even Sakura." Aim poked her head out from the kitchen. "Or maybe you'll get stuck with someone lazier than Shikamaru." Naruto laughed. "No way, nobody's that lazy." Chuchai slid a bowl in front of him. "On the house for Konoha's newest genin." Naruto slurped noodles as fast as he could, thinking about what his team would be like. He wondered if they'd like pranks or if they'd just roll their eyes like Uruka. He hoped more than anything that he'd finally belong. The academy was crowded and buzzing with nervous energy when Naruto arrived. The new genin stood in little groups, whispering and comparing headbands. Naruto searched for familiar faces, his stomach twisting with excitement and dread. Sakura was there, looking perfect as always, hair combed and forehead protector tied with a pink ribbon. Sasuke was by himself in the corner, arms crossed, eyes cold. Naruto made a face, then forced himself to stand a little taller. Uruka called for silence and started reading off the team assignments. Naruto held his breath. Team 7, Naruto Uzumaki, Sakura Haruno, and Sasuke Uchiha. Jonin instructor Kakashi Headache. Naruto's jaw dropped. Sasuke, of all the people in the class, he had to get stuck with the biggest show-off, but then he noticed Sakura's name. He pumped his fist, barely stopping himself from shouting. Sakura groaned. "No way, why do I have to be on the same team as Naruto?" Naruto wilted for a second, then forced a grin. "Hey, don't sound so disappointed." Sasuke just looked away, bored. Chen. Uruka finished reading the rest of the teams, then called everyone to stay in their rooms until their Jonin instructors arrived. Naruto flopped into a chair beside Sakura, trying to look cool. "Guess we're teammates, huh?" Sakura ignored him, sighing dreamily at Sasuke. Naruto slumped, glaring at Sasuke. "What's so great about him anyway?" he muttered. Sasuke didn't even look up. Time dragged on. Other teams got picked up one by one. Jonin instructors came and went, but Team 7's sensei was nowhere to be seen. Sakura got more and more annoyed. Sasuke just sat in silence, and Naruto bounced his knees, growing restless. Finally, hours after the others had left, the door slid open. A tall man in a flak jacket and mask leaned in the doorway, a little orange book in his hand. His silver hair stuck up at a wild angle. "Yo," he said lazily, "I'm Kakashi Headache, Team 7, come with me." Naruto was instantly on alert. Kakashi didn't look like a super ninja. He looked, well, lazy, maybe even sleepier than Shikamaru. They followed Kakashi to the roof, where he leaned against the railing and glanced at each of them in turn. "All right, why don't you introduce yourselves? Likes, dislikes, dreams for the future." Sakura immediately sat up straight. "I'm Sakura Haruno. I like studying and, well, you know," she blushed, sneaking a glance at Sasuke. "I dislike Naruto's pranks. My dream," she looked straight at Sasuke, who ignored her, "is, well, it's private." Naruto rolled his eyes, but then it was his turn. He jumped up, fists on his hips. "I'm Naruto Uzumaki. I love ramen, especially at Ikaraku. I hate waiting and people who look down on me. My dream is to become Hokage, the greatest ninja ever, believe it." Kakashi nodded, eyes crinkling above his mask. "Ambitious, and you, Sasuke?" Sasuke glanced at them, dark eyes burning. "My name is Sasuke Uchiha. I dislike a lot of things. I don't really like anything. I have no dream, but I have an ambition, to kill a certain man and restore my clan." The roof went quiet for a moment. Kakashi looked at each of them, then shrugged. "Well, you're certainly unique." He stood up, putting the orange book away. Meet me at training ground 7 tomorrow at 5 am. Don't eat breakfast. Trust me, you'll regret it if you do. Before they could ask why, he vanished in a swirl of leaves. Naruto walked home that night, buzzing with excitement and worry. He was a real ninja now, he had a team, and tomorrow he'd finally get to show everyone what he could do. But as he lay in bed, he felt that old, cold presence at the edge of his thoughts. It didn't feel threatening, just watchful, like someone in the shadows waiting to see what he'd do next. He dreamed of bells ringing, a field full of sunlight, and a single silver-haired figure standing between him and everything he wanted. Naruto woke up before dawn, nerves twisting in his stomach. He skipped breakfast, remembering Kakashi's warning. He tied his headband tight and ran out the door. Training ground 7 was a wide, grassy field bordered by trees. Sakura and Sasuke were already there, looking just as tired and annoyed as he felt. Naruto grinned, bouncing on his toes. Morning. Sakura scowled. Don't talk to me, Naruto. Sasuke ignored both of them. They waited and waited. The sun climbed higher. Naruto's stomach rumbled. Sakura looked ready to scream. Even Sasuke looked impatient. Finally, hours late, Kakashi strolled out of the trees, hands in his pockets. Yo, good, you're all here. Naruto fumed. You're late. Kakashi just shrugged. A black cat crossed my path, had to go the long way around. Naruto almost exploded, but Sakura beat him to it. You made us wait for hours. Kakashi ignored her, pulling out a pair of small silver bells and tying them to his belt. Today's test is simple, he said, eyes serious for the first time. All you have to do is take these bells from me. Whoever gets a bell passes. Whoever doesn't goes back to the academy. Naruto blinked, but there's only 2 bells. Exactly, Kakashi said. At least one of you will fail, and if you try to just grab a bell without thinking, you'll lose. Use everything you've learned. You have until noon. Ready, go. He vanished. Naruto blinked, then darted into the bushes. Sakura and Sasuke disappeared in opposite directions. Naruto hid in the leaves, heart pounding. He tried to remember everything Iruka had taught him about teamwork, stealth, and thinking ahead, but mostly all he wanted to do was impress Kakashi and prove he belonged. He spotted Kakashi standing in the clearing, reading his book. Naruto crept closer, forming a hand sign. Shadow Clone Jutsu. 4 Narutos burst out of the bushes, charging Kakashi from all sides. For a split second, Naruto thought they'd caught him off guard, but Kakashi didn't even look up. He sidestepped the clones with lazy grace, tripping one and sending another spinning through the air. The real Naruto leapt at him, but Kakashi flickered out of sight. Naruto landed face first in the dirt. He sat up, spitting grass. He's fat. From the trees, Sakura watched, biting her lip. She tried to sneak up behind Kakashi, but he caught her without even looking, holding her by the back of the collar. Not bad, Kakashi said, but not good enough. He let her go and vanished again. Sasuke was the only one who seemed to get close. He used shuriken and fast footwork, forcing Kakashi to dodge, but the Jonin never broke a sweat. Naruto tried every trick he knew, clones, pranks, even hiding underground. Nothing worked. Every time he got close, Kakashi saw right through him. After an hour, Naruto was out of breath, covered in dirt, and ready to give up. He ducked behind a tree, gasping for air. You can't win like this, a cold voice whispered in his mind. Naruto flinched. For a second he saw something in the shadows, a tall figure in a white coat, eyes calm and mocking. Everyone is fighting alone, but alone you're weak. Naruto squeezed his eyes shut, trying to block out the voice. Shut up, I can do this, I'm not weak. He peeked around the tree, searching for Kakashi. He remembered something Iruka had once said, a ninja is strongest when he trusts his team. Naruto hesitated, then darted toward where he'd last seen Sakura. He found her crouched in the grass, clutching her head. Sakura, we need to work together. She looked at him, surprised, but there's only 2 bells. If we don't try, we all lose, come on. She nodded, following him. They found Sasuke hiding in a tree, glaring down at Kakashi. Naruto called up, hey Sasuke, let's work together. Sasuke scowled, but after a moment he jumped down. Fine, he said, but I'm getting a bell. Whatever, Naruto said, just help. They made a plan. Sakura would distract Kakashi, Sasuke would attack from the side, and Naruto would sneak up from behind. It was simple, but it was all they had. Sakura charged out first, throwing a handful of kunai. Kakashi dodged easily, but while he was distracted, Sasuke came at him from the left. Kakashi blocked his punch but missed Naruto, who crawled out of the grass behind him. Naruto reached for the bells, fingers brushing the string. For a split second, he saw something strange, Kakashi's reflection in the bell, and behind it, his own face, but older, colder, eyes shining with hidden power. He blinked and the vision vanished. Kakashi twisted, catching Naruto by the collar. "Not bad," Kakashi said, sounding almost impressed. "You nearly got me." Naruto grinned, even as he dangled from Kakashi's grip. Sasuke and Sakura stood panting nearby, faces red from effort. Kakashi set Naruto down, looking at them all. "You finally figured it out," he said. "Ninja who break the rules are scum, but those who abandon their friends are worse than scum." He untied the bells and handed one to each of them. "You all pass." Naruto stared stunned. "But how? We didn't get the bells." Kakashi shrugged. "You work together, that's what matters most." Naruto's heart soared. For the first time, he felt like part of a real team. Sakura wiped her eyes. Sasuke just grunted, but there was a small smile on his face. Kakashi smiled beneath his mask. "Let's go get some lunch, you've earned it." As they walked back to the village, Naruto felt lighter than he had in years. He had a team. He wasn't alone anymore. But deep in his mind, that cold voice lingered, watching and waiting. "Not bad," it whispered, "but the real game is just beginning." Naruto shivered but pushed the feeling aside. For now, he was happy. That night, as Naruto lay in bed, he thought about the day's test, about working with Sakura and Sasuke, about Kakashi's words. He smiled, feeling hope rise in his chest. But in the darkness, his reflection in the window moved a half-second too late. Its smile was sharp and its eyes glimmered with secrets. Naruto drifted off to sleep, dreaming of bells, laughter, and shadows that danced just out of reach. Naruto didn't know when it started, the feeling that someone was watching him. Sometimes it was nothing but a prickling at the back of his neck as he walked through the quiet streets. Other times, he'd catch a flash of movement out of the corner of his eye, a flicker of black in the alley, the whisper of sandal against gravel, a glint behind a mask high in a tree. He tried to tell himself he was being paranoid. He was a ninja now. Ninja had to be alert, right? Maybe everyone felt this way at first, but the feeling didn't fade. If anything, it grew stronger every day. At first, Naruto tried to ignore it. He threw himself into missions, training, and hanging out with Team 7. But the eyes never left him. Even when he was with Sakura and Sasuke, or listening to Kakashi's lazy voice as they cleaned up the training ground for the third time that week, the sense of being observed stuck with him. He decided if someone really was following him, maybe he could turn it into a game. The first time Naruto tried to catch his tail, he almost fell off the academy roof. He'd been sitting there after practice, kicking his feet and watching the sunset when he saw a shadow slip along the fence below. He narrowed his eyes, channeling that strange, slippery feeling he'd learned to trust, the way he sometimes just vanished from people's attention. He leapt silently down to the next rooftop, then slid behind a chimney. Below, a masked ninja in dark clothing scanned the empty street, not seeing Naruto at all. Naruto smirked. If they wanted to follow him, he'd make it interesting. That night, as he walked home, Naruto darted down every alley, doubled back, and even did a quick lap of the village walls for good measure. He left a trail of fake footprints using a trick he picked up from watching Kiba, and set up a few classic pranks, tripwires, smoke bombs, and a bucket of fish guts balanced over a doorway. He even left a note on a bench that read, "Not today, stalker." He caught a glimpse of one of his pursuers slipping on a banana peel and nearly fell over laughing. But it wasn't just Naruto who noticed the watchers. Sasuke commented on it during a mission as they hauled boxes at the market. "Someone's following us," Sasuke said quietly, scanning the rooftops. Sakura frowned. "Are you sure? I haven't seen anything." Sasuke's eyes narrowed. "I'm sure." Naruto shrugged. "Probably just the Hawkins ANBU. I'm used to it." Kakashi, leaning against a wall reading his book, didn't even look up. That's the sign of a true ninja, being watched but acting like you're not. Naruto snorted. "Yeah, well, maybe they should mind their own business." Inside, Naruto felt that weird sense again, like someone was poking around in his head, not just watching his actions but trying to figure out who he really was. He hated it, but he also knew that acting normal was the best way to make the grown-ups lose interest. So he kept up his pranks, did his missions, and tried not to let the Watchers get under his skin. But the Watchers didn't get bored. If anything, they only got more determined. Deep beneath Konoha, in a cold, stone-lined room that smelled like old paper and secrets, Danzo Shimura read report after report about Naruto Uzumaki. His single visible eye was sharp and cold as ice. Danzo's men route had been assigned to watch the Jinchuriki for years, but now the reports had changed. "He slipped our surveillance again, Danzo-sama," one masked agent reported, kneeling. "He seems to know when we're near." Another nodded. "His chakra fluctuates unpredictably. At times it disappears entirely, then returns stronger than before." Danzo steepled his fingers. "You say he vanishes from your sight?" "Yes, sir. We lose track of him for minutes at a time. Sometimes the memories of our team are fuzzy, details missing. It's as if he's not there at all." Danzo sat back in his chair thinking, and the boy himself, does he act suspicious? He is unusually mischievous, but nothing out of the ordinary for a child his age. Danzo was silent for a long time. "Continue your observation. Do not engage. If he becomes a risk, report immediately. The Jinchuriki is too valuable to be left unchecked, but too dangerous to underestimate." The root agents bowed and vanished. Danzo stared at the candle on his desk, lost in thought. For a moment, a ghost of another memory flitted through his mind. Old legends of illusionists, genjutsu so powerful they warped reality itself. Was the boy just a prankster or something more? Naruto tried to put it all out of his head, but the next few days were even stranger. He started seeing things that shouldn't be there. At first, it was just little stuff. A shadow moving the wrong way, a reflection in a puddle that winked at him, a familiar voice echoing in an empty alley. Then during team training, it got weirder. Kakashi split them up for a solo tracking exercise. Naruto ducked through the woods using every trick he knew. He lost his tail, looped around, and doubled back toward the training ground, only to freeze when he saw something out of the corner of his eye. For a split second, the trees shimmered. He saw a corridor lined with white walls, dozens of black-robed figures moving silently, a familiar sword glinting in the dark. Then the vision was gone. He shook his head, heart pounding. He felt the strange, cold presence lurking just behind his thoughts, calm, amused, waiting. "Don't lose focus," a voice whispered in his head. "They're still watching." Naruto shook it off and sprinted back to the clearing. He reached the training ground just in time to see Kakashi snatch a bell out of Sasuke's hand, dodging a well-aimed punch from Sakura. "Nice try, Team 7, Kakashi said, sounding bored, "but you'll have to do better." Naruto was still out of breath when he joined them, but he forced a smile. "Hey, Sensei, is it normal to feel like you're being followed all the time?" Kakashi's eye curved into a smile. "If you're good enough to notice, that means you're making progress." Naruto grinned. "So I'm a real ninja now, right?" Kakashi patted him on the head. "Maybe, or maybe you're just paranoid." Naruto stuck out his tongue, but a part of him wondered if Kakashi knew more than he was letting on. That night, Naruto couldn't sleep. He lay in bed, listening to the city settle. Shadows danced across the ceiling, thrown by the moonlight outside. He rolled over, grabbing his sketchbook. The drawing of the sword Kyoka Suijutsu was still there, clearer than ever. He traced the lines with his finger, wondering where the image came from. Suddenly, a memory flickered behind his eyes, not his memory, but something older. A tall, cold tower, a man in white robes standing at the top, looking down at an army of silent figures. The man lifted his hand, and the whole world seemed to pause, waiting for his command. Naruto jerked back, shivering. He closed the notebook and shoved it under his pillow. The next day, Naruto set out to lose his stalkers for real. He spent the morning planting decoy shadow clones all over the village. One sat on the Hokage monument eating dango, another walked in and out of the market, and a third danced on top of the bathhouse roof, waving a red flag. Root was quick, but Naruto was quicker. He led them in circles, ducking down alleys, climbing fences, even sneaking through the sewers. At one point, he dropped a stink bomb in a crowded street and watched 3 masked men get buried in garbage by a helpful vendor. He couldn't help laughing. It felt good to outsmart grown-ups, even if he knew it wouldn't last. But the longer he played the game, the more intense the watchers became. They started showing up in pairs, blocking exits, setting subtle traps. Naruto began to realize this was more than just observation. They were hunting him. He decided to turn the tables. That afternoon, he set up his most complicated prank yet, a maze of tripwires, smoke bombs, and dummy clones all around the old playground. When he spotted two masked men lurking in the shadows, he lured them in with a flash of orange and disappeared into the maze. The first agent tripped a wire and got a faceful of flour. The second slipped on marbles and landed in a pile of mud. Naruto darted around corners, his heart racing with excitement. But as he rounded a bend, he ran straight into a third agent. The man grabbed him by the arm. "You're coming with us, Uzumaki." Naruto twisted, but the grip was too strong. Panic rose in his chest, but then that cold, detached part of him woke up. Breathe, assess, control the field. He closed his eyes for a split second, focusing not on his fear but on the feeling of slipping away, of being seen but not seen. The agent blinked. For a moment, Naruto's body shimmered and the man's grip loosened. Naruto pulled free, stumbling back. The world seemed to slow down. Every sound was sharper, every shadow deeper. He spun, running for the exit, but three more agents blocked his way. Surrounded, Naruto's mind raced. He could try to fight, but these weren't bullies or other kids. These were real shinobi, dangerous ones. His hands formed seals almost without thinking. Shadow Clone Jutsu. Half a dozen Narutos burst into the open, sprinting in all directions. Two of them went straight at the agents, ducking and weaving, while the real Naruto leapt onto the jungle gym, landing lightly on the highest bar. The root agents moved fast. One snatched a clone and it popped into smoke. Another threw a kunai, slicing through two more clones at once. But Naruto was already on the move, using every inch of the playground. He jumped, rolled, slid down the slide, and somersaulted behind the swings. He grinned, adrenaline rushing. He was outnumbered, but he wasn't scared, not anymore. A flash of memory struck him, a battlefield, swords clashing, hundreds of men charging at a single figure. He felt himself smile, a cold, confident smile that didn't feel quite like his own. Let them come. He focused, trying something new. Instead of running, he stood perfectly still. The air around him shimmered just for a second. The agents rushed forward, but their eyes slid past him, searching the empty air. One even brushed his shoulder without noticing. Naruto held his breath, sweat trickling down his back. Then one agent stopped, turning slowly. "He's here, I can feel his chakra." Naruto braced himself. The agents closed in, surrounding him. For a split second, the world went silent. Naruto's heart hammered in his chest. Then deep inside, that cold presence surged. The air turned heavy, the ground seemed to tilt. Naruto felt something slip loose, a ripple of power he couldn't control. The world shimmered, and for an instant, the root agents froze in place, eyes wide with shock. They couldn't move, they couldn't speak. It was as if their minds had been chained, trapped in an illusion they didn't even know was there. Naruto stumbled back, shocked at what he'd done. The presence inside him whispered, "Good, remember this feeling." But Naruto didn't want to hurt anyone. He closed his eyes, focusing on the memory of Uruka's kindness, of his team's laughter, of the village at sunrise. Slowly, the power faded. The agents blinked, confused, then staggered back, shaken. Naruto didn't wait. He bolted, sprinting through the playground, over the fence, and into the street. He didn't stop running until he was halfway across the village. He ducked into an alley, heart pounding, hands shaking. He was scared not of Root but of himself. That night, Naruto sat on his bed, knees pulled to his chest. The sketchbook lay open in front of him. The sword seemed to glow softly in the moonlight. He thought about what had happened, about the way he'd made those men freeze, the feeling of power and fear all mixed together. He didn't understand it, but he knew it was growing. He flipped the page, searching for answers in his own drawings. For a moment, he saw his reflection in the window, his own face, but older, colder, and smiling a little too much. "Don't lose yourself," he thought. But the voice in his head only laughed, quiet and amused. Across the village, Danzo read the latest report. Subject Uzumaki demonstrated advanced genjutsu or unknown chakra manipulation. Team incapacitated for several seconds. Immediate risk assessment recommended. Danzo's fingers tightened on the paper. He's becoming more than just a vessel, he muttered. If we cannot control him, we must be prepared to eliminate him. He stood, walking to the window. The night was quiet, but Danzo knew better than to trust the silence. The future of Konoha depends on what that boy becomes, he said quietly. We cannot afford to lose. Naruto sat awake long after the moon rose, staring at his reflection. He didn't know what tomorrow would bring. He only knew one thing for sure: he wasn't alone, not anymore. And somewhere deep inside, another part of him smiled, a part that remembered a world of illusions, power, and lonely ambition. The Watchers were closing in, but Naruto was ready. Let them come. The sun barely rose the next day, its orange glow cut by rain clouds rolling over the hidden leaf. Naruto woke before dawn, the strange sense of pressure still squeezing his chest after a restless night. His hands shook as he brushed his teeth. He could still feel that strange pulse from yesterday, his power slipping loose, freezing those root agents like statues. He didn't want to remember their faces, wide-eyed and blank. He didn't want to remember the thrill in his chest or how natural it had felt to pull their minds apart. But the memory was stubborn. Every time he blinked, he saw it again, the world freezing, time itself bending. Naruto scowled at his reflection, blue eyes flashing. I'm not like that, he muttered. I'm not some monster. His reflection didn't argue, it just stared back, silent and sharp. He yanked his headband on, tied his shoes, and bolted from his apartment. He needed to get out, he needed to move. The morning was wet and chilly. Water pooled on rooftops and the training grounds were slick with mud. Naruto didn't care. He threw himself into training with a kind of desperation, cycling through basic taijutsu, kunai throws, even a few shadow clones for company. But even his clones seemed uneasy today, glancing at him out of the corners of their eyes, their faces set and wary. Why so serious? One clone asked, kicking a pebble. Naruto forced a laugh. I'm just tired, that's all. A second clone poked the first. He's always tired after he pulls that spooky stuff. The first clone nodded. Yeah, like yesterday, I felt weird too, like my head was full of fog. Naruto dismissed them with a wave, but their words stuck. Was the power inside him changing more than just himself? Were his clones, his teammates, even his friends feeling it too? He shoved the thoughts aside and punched at a training post until his knuckles stung. By midday, the rain had stopped, but the sky stayed gray. Naruto headed into town, hoping to run into Sakura or Sasuke. He didn't want to be alone. He needed normal. Instead, he found the streets strangely empty. Most villagers ducked into shops as he passed, glancing nervously at the badge on his headband. Whispers followed him. That's the demon boy. He's gotten stronger. Did you hear what happened near the playground? Naruto gritted his teeth, picking up his pace. At the main square, he finally spotted Sakura, umbrella in hand, arguing with a shopkeeper about the price of dango. He snuck up behind her, voice forced bright. Hey Sakura, what you doing? Sakura jumped, nearly dropping her umbrella. Naruto, don't sneak up on people like that. He grinned. Sorry, I needed to see a friendly face. Sakura eyed him, frowning. You look like you haven't slept. Training, he lied, scratching the back of his head. Hey, have you seen Sasuke? She shook her head, softening. No, but are you okay? You seem off. Naruto tried to wave it away, but she just stared harder. Seriously, Naruto, you're not hiding anything, are you? He hesitated, feeling the cold, twisting guilt in his gut. Just weird dreams, that's all. She didn't look convinced, but didn't push. Come on, I'll buy you a dango. He followed her, grateful for the normalcy. They found Sasuke sitting under an awning, arms folded, staring at the rain. Yo Sasuke, Naruto called, waving. Sasuke grunted, glancing up. You're late. Naruto rolled his eyes. Didn't know you were waiting for me, team. Sasuke snorted but didn't argue. Sakura joined them, passing around sticks of dango. For a while, they sat together in companionable silence, watching the last drops of rain splatter on the stones. It was almost peaceful. Naruto let himself relax, if only for a moment. That peace shattered when a kunai thudded into the post behind Sasuke's head. All three jumped to their feet, instantly alert. Sakura yelped, clutching her bag. Sasuke whipped his own kunai out, scanning the rooftops. Naruto tensed, the old sense of being watched crashing back in full force. 4 masked figures dropped into the square root, their emotionless masks glinting in the dim light. Naruto felt his mouth go dry. Not again. Sasuke stepped in front of Sakura. What do you want? The lead agent spoke, voice flat. Naruto Uzumaki, you will come with us now. Sasuke's eyes narrowed. Like hell he will. The agents shifted, preparing to strike. Naruto felt the power stirring in his chest, but he fought it down. He didn't want to lose control, not in front of his team, not again. Sakura backed up, voice shaking. There's too many. Naruto grabbed her hand, squeezing tight. Stay behind me. The agents moved as one, striking with silent precision. Sasuke met them head-on, sharing and flashing. He dodged the first attack, flipping backward and launching a volley of shuriken. Sakura hurled a kunai, surprising herself as it clipped an agent's arm. Naruto stepped forward, heart pounding, and forced himself to breathe. He remembered Uruka's voice, a ninja is strongest when he protects his friends. The world seemed to slow. For a split second, everything was silent except his own heartbeat. He let the strange power rise but didn't let it take over. He channeled it, shaping it into a genjutsu as natural as breathing. For the root agents, reality bent. Suddenly, dozens of Narutos sprang from every shadow, sprinting at them from all directions. The air shimmered with afterimages, their voices echoing off every wall. Over here. No, here. Too slow. The agents attacked, but every Naruto they hit vanished in a puff of smoke or a ripple of light. Their confusion mounted, their formation breaking. One agent tried to leap away, but the ground under him turned soft, sucking at his feet like quicksand. Another saw Sasuke split into 2, 3, 4 versions, each dodging attacks and striking back with perfect precision. Sakura, caught in the edge of the illusion, saw everything slow to a crawl. Her panic faded, replaced by a strange calm. She watched Naruto move, not clumsy or loud, but smooth, almost graceful, weaving between the attackers. Sasuke, eyes wide, realized he couldn't tell which enemy was real. He trusted his instincts, fighting by Naruto's side. The lead agent tried to focus, tried to dispel the genjutsu. But the world twisted again. He was standing at the edge of a tower, facing not a boy but a tall, older figure with cold eyes and a white haori billowing in the wind. You're not from here, the vision said, voice deep and cutting. The agent staggered, blinking. When he came to, Naruto was in front of him, fists clenched. Naruto stared him down, voice shaking but steady. Leave my friends alone, I don't want to hurt you. The agent hesitated, feeling the weight of Naruto's power, then signaled retreat. The others melted away, vanishing into the shadows. The square was suddenly quiet again. Naruto fell to his knees, breathing hard. Sakura rushed to his side, worry written all over her face. Are you okay? She asked. Naruto nodded, wiping sweat from his brow. I'm fine, just tired. Sasuke knelt beside him, expression unreadable. That wasn't normal genjutsu. What did you do? Naruto shrugged, still catching his breath. I don't know, it just happened. Sasuke frowned but didn't argue. You saved us. Sakura squeezed Naruto's hand, eyes shining. You really did. Naruto managed a weak grin. Guess I'm good for something after all. They moved to a quieter street, hiding out in an alley to regroup. Sakura pressed a wet cloth to Naruto's forehead. You should go home, she said softly. Rest. I can't, Naruto said, voice quiet. They'll just come after me again. Sasuke leaned against the wall, arms crossed. We'll stay with you. Naruto's eyes widened. You don't have to. Sasuke cut him off. You're part of the team. We don't leave teammates behind. Sakura nodded, determination firming her jaw. We're not letting those weirdos take you. Naruto felt a rush of gratitude so strong it almost hurt. For a moment, he was just a kid with friends who cared. The three of them wandered the village, keeping to the shadows. Naruto felt the darkness pressing closer, but with Sasuke and Sakura beside him, he didn't feel as scared. They made their way to the park. The rain had stopped, leaving puddles everywhere. Naruto's stomach rumbled. Sakura snorted. Honestly, do you ever think about anything besides food? Naruto stuck his tongue out. What a hero can't get hungry. Sasuke rolled his eyes. You're a moron. Naruto grinned. For a second, it was almost like nothing was wrong. Suddenly, a group of rabbits darted across the path, chased by one of Naruto's clones in a ridiculous makeshift ANBU mask. The clone slipped in the mud, faceplanting with a splash. Sakura burst out laughing. Sasuke snorted, trying to hide his smile. "Nice job, ANBU Naruto," Sakura teased. The clone sat up, shaking mud from his hair. "Even my clones are better ninjas than those root guys." Naruto doubled over, laughing until tears ran down his cheeks. Even Sasuke let out a quiet chuckle. For a moment the darkness lifted. But the peace didn't last. That night, as Naruto trudged home, he felt the presence again, stronger than ever. He climbed onto the roof of his apartment building, sitting under the cloudy sky. He stared at his hands, flexing his fingers. The power inside him was growing, twisting. It felt good and terrifying at the same time. A voice echoed in his mind, low, calm, full of something dangerous. "You're becoming strong, Naruto, but strength comes with a price. Don't forget who you are." Naruto squeezed his eyes shut, shaking his head. "I'm not you, I'm me, I'm Naruto." The voice laughed, soft and cold. "We'll see." At the same time, deep beneath the village, Danzo paced his office, fury simmering. "The boy has progressed too quickly," he muttered. "He defeated my agents with abilities beyond normal genjutsu. There's more at work here, something old, something dangerous." His top advisor bowed. "Do you wish to move forward, sir?" Danzo nodded. "Prepare the containment team. If Uzumaki cannot be controlled, we will extract what we need, by any means necessary." He stared at the candle on his desk, eyes full of ambition and fear. Naruto sat on the roof, the city quiet below him. He pulled out his sketchbook, flipping to the page with Kyoka Suijutsu. The lines shimmered in the moonlight, a silent promise. He ran his thumb along the drawing, feeling the strange surge rise in his chest. "I won't let you take over," he whispered, "not ever." The power answered not in words, but in a cold thrill that danced along his spine. Naruto closed the book and hugged his knees to his chest, staring into the darkness. He didn't know what tomorrow would bring, but he knew this: as long as he had his friends, he wouldn't lose himself. Not to Root, not to Danzo, not to the cold presence waiting in the shadows. Not to anyone. The days after the attack blurred together. Naruto kept expecting to wake up and find it was all a nightmare, a strange dream about masked men and powers he didn't understand. But every morning, the ache in his muscles and the worried faces of his friends proved it was all real. He kept moving. That was his answer to everything. Naruto trained harder, stayed out later, ran faster. If he could just keep going, maybe the darkness would stay behind him. But it never really did. Team 7's next mission was nothing special: walking dogs, finding a lost cat, painting fences. Kakashi didn't seem to notice how jumpy Naruto had become, or maybe he did, but he just didn't say anything. Sakura watched Naruto out of the corner of her eye, biting her lip. Sasuke, for once, kept his complaints to himself. Naruto hated it. He wanted things to go back to the way they were: easy banter, simple rivalries, the old, predictable rhythm. He wanted to forget the taste of fear. Instead, everything felt sharper. He could sense the eyes on him again. Not just Root, this time there was something new, quieter, but just as persistent. Every time he turned a corner, every time he ducked behind a wall, he felt the hair rise on the back of his neck. One afternoon, as they walked home after delivering groceries for an old lady, Naruto heard a soft thump overhead. He looked up just in time to catch the flash of a shadow leaping from one rooftop to another, fast, skilled, gone in an instant. He didn't mention it to Sakura or Sasuke. He didn't want to worry them. But as they rounded the next corner, Naruto couldn't shake the sense that the game had changed. Someone was keeping score, and he didn't even know the rules. At the Hawkage Tower, Hiruzen Sarutobi watched from his office window, pipe clenched between his teeth. 3 ANBU knelt before him, each wearing the mask of a different animal. "He is becoming less predictable," the tiger-masked ANBU reported. "Not only Root, but others have lost track of him at times." Hiruzen frowned, stroking his beard. "And his behavior?" "Unchanged, mostly more cautious. His chakra surges at odd intervals." Hiruzen sighed, turning to stare at the painting of past Hawkage lining the wall. "Keep watching, but do not interfere. Let him believe he is unwatched, and if Danzo's agents make another move, inform me directly." The ANBU bowed and vanished. Hiruzen was left alone with his thoughts and his doubts. Minato Kushina, what did we unleash that night, he wondered. Back in the village, Naruto sat at his favorite ramen stand, twirling a chopstick between his fingers. Tuchai worked quietly, I am humming as she washed dishes. The normalcy was a balm to Naruto's nerves. He ate slowly, savoring every bite. Something bothering you, Naruto? Tuchai asked, eyes kind. Naruto hesitated, just tired, I guess. I am leaned over, you look like you haven't slept in days. Naruto grinned, trying to brush it off. It's nothing, just training with Kakashi, he never lets us take breaks. Tuchai chuckled, that's what being a ninja's about, you'll get used to it. Naruto tried to believe him, but as he finished his ramen and stepped outside, the shadow on his heart was as heavy as ever. The next morning, Kakashi had a new challenge for Team 7. You three are getting sloppy, he said, eye curving into a smile above his mask. So today, we're doing surprise drills. Everyone split up, try to outsmart and outmaneuver your teammates. I'll be watching. Whoever finds me first gets out of cleaning the training grounds for a week. Naruto lit up, you're on, Kakashi-sensei. Sasuke snorted, try not to embarrass yourself, Dobi. Sakura rolled her eyes, but a tiny smile played at her lips. They scattered, each determined to win. Naruto sprinted into the trees, heart thumping with excitement. He made a dozen clones, sending them in all directions. Each one took a slightly different route, one over rooftops, another underground, another right through the market. Naruto let his mind split along with them, riding a dozen sets of eyes at once. It felt good and powerful. He could see the whole village at once, every angle, every hiding place. The world seemed brighter. Even the suspicious, nervous feeling faded into the background. As the clones searched, they started arguing. I saw a silver headband near the bridge. No, he's hiding by the dango stand. I smell dogs, he must be near the Inuzuka kennels. Naruto grinned, sending 2 clones to each location. The chaos multiplied. One clone tripped and rolled into a vendor's cart, sending apples everywhere. Another clone got distracted by a cat and ended up chasing it halfway to the river. 2 clones started fighting over who was the real Naruto and accidentally headbutted each other into a pond. The market erupted in shouts as half a dozen Narutos sprinted through the stalls, leaving chaos and laughter in their wake. Up on a rooftop, Kakashi watched the mess below, eyes crinkling in amusement. He scribbled a note in his little orange book, shadow clones, effective but easily distracted by food and shiny objects. Back at the training ground, Sakura tried to work alone, using logic to narrow down Kakashi's likely hiding spots. She moved quietly, checking every blind corner, her senses on high alert. Sasuke, meanwhile, used the tree-walking exercise to climb the tallest pine and scan the area from above, his Sharingan spinning. He spotted several clones, rolled his eyes, and ignored them. But it was Naruto in all his chaotic glory who finally found Kakashi, almost by accident. One clone, after being chased by a street dog, tumbled into a shed and slammed the door behind him. Inside, Kakashi sat cross-legged, reading his book, as if he'd been expecting Naruto all along. The clone's eyes widened. Found you. Kakashi raised an eyebrow. Did you, or did your clones? Naruto's real self popped in a second later, slightly out of breath. It was me, I mean all of me. Kakashi laughed, a real, open sound. Well done, but next time try to keep your clones focused. Naruto shrugged, grinning. Hard to make myself listen sometimes. Sakura and Sasuke arrived just after, both a little annoyed at being beaten. Sakura scolded Naruto for the mess his clones had made. Sasuke pretended he didn't care. Kakashi put a hand on Naruto's head. Good job, everyone, but remember, chaos isn't always the same as strategy. You're getting better, Naruto, all of you are. For the first time in days, Naruto let himself feel proud. But not everyone was happy about Team 7's growth. From a hidden rooftop, an ANBU in a weasel mask watched the entire exercise, taking careful notes. When Naruto's clones flooded the field, the ANBU's chakra sensors spiked. He reported back to the Hawkage Tower, shadow clones used for wide area search. Subject demonstrates unusual control and tactical flexibility. No signs of Kyuubi chakra, but brief surge of unknown nature detected. Recommend continued surveillance. Hiruzen read the report, frowning. Unknown nature, he muttered, I wonder. He reached for his pipe, staring out the window, his doubts deepened. Meanwhile, Danzo was not as patient as the Hawkage. In his hidden lair, root agents reported the failure of the last operation and Naruto's growing unpredictability. Danzo clenched his fist. We've given him enough rope, the next move must be decisive. His assistant asked, do you wish to capture him? Not yet, force will draw attention, let him think he's in control, we'll observe until his power slips again and then we strike. Danzo's mind spun with plans. He wanted the Kyuubi, but more than that, he wanted to understand the strange power that let Naruto vanish, fool even Root, and disrupt memories. It's almost like the old stories, he muttered, genjutsu that warps reality and illusion king. He stared at a dossier labeled Uzumaki Naruto. On the cover was a new note, Kyoka Suijutsu, unknown meaning. Naruto noticed none of this, at least not directly, but that night, as he lay in bed, the feeling of being watched returned stronger than ever. He stared at his ceiling, hugging his pillow, willing himself to relax. Instead, his mind drifted back to the sword in his dreams, Kyoka Suijutsu. He saw it every night now, gleaming in moonlight, resting on a pedestal of black stone. Sometimes he heard voices whispering in a language he couldn't understand. Other times, the sword seemed to shimmer and his own reflection stared back from the blade's surface. He wondered what it all meant. Was it just a dream or something more? He fell asleep and the dream returned in full force. He stood in a great hall, endless columns stretching into darkness. At the far end, a figure waited, a tall man in a white robe, back turned, hands clasped behind him. Naruto approached, feet echoing on the cold stone floor. The man turned and for a split second, Naruto saw his own face reflected in the stranger's eyes, older, colder, confident. Do you understand now? The man asked, voice echoing. Naruto shook his head. Understand what? Power is just a game, and you are learning to play. Naruto wanted to argue, but the words wouldn't come. Trust no one completely, not even yourself, the man whispered. Naruto woke with a start, drenched in sweat, heart hammering. The next day, he tried to shake off the dream. He met Sakura and Sasuke for training. As they stretched and argued about whose taijutsu was better, Naruto tried to focus on the present. But the dream clung to him like a shadow. Sasuke noticed, you're even more spaced out than usual, Naruto. Naruto forced a grin, just tired, bad dreams. Sakura frowned, stepping closer. You should talk to Iruka-sensei or the Hawkage. Naruto shook his head. I'm fine, really. But inside, he knew he was lying. The line between dreams and reality felt thinner every day. That afternoon, Kakashi gave them a break. Naruto wandered the market, clones in tow, running little errands and causing just enough chaos to make himself laugh. One clone tried to buy a bouquet of flowers, another sampled every free dumpling in the street, and a third joined a street performer juggling apples until he dropped one on his own head. Villagers stared in confusion as a half-dozen Narutos darted through the stalls. Some shook their heads, but others, especially kids, cheered and laughed. For a little while, Naruto felt normal again. He belonged. But as the clones bickered in the sunlight, one of them paused. Its head snapped up, eyes narrowing as if it sensed something none of the others did. Hey boss, it whispered, the message flickering back to Naruto. Someone's watching again, closer this time. Naruto stiffened, scanning the crowd. He saw nothing, no masked faces, no shadows out of place. But the feeling was real, the game was on again. That night, as Naruto lay in bed, the dream came for him with a force he couldn't ignore. He stood before the sword Kyoka Suijutsu, the air buzzed with power. He reached out, hand trembling. This time, as his fingers brushed the blade, the world spun. Images flooded his mind, endless hallways, people bowing, laughter and betrayal, the world twisting and reshaping itself at a word. Naruto gasped, falling to his knees. You are the mask and the truth, the dream voice whispered. Play the game well. He woke with a start, pulse racing, ears ringing. Elsewhere in the Hawkage Tower, Hiruzen met with Kakashi in private. Kakashi, have you noticed anything strange about Naruto's chakra? Kakashi nodded, mask serious for once. He's changing, not just growing stronger, there's something else, like he's learning to hide in plain sight, almost like a genjutsu, but different. Hiruzen sighed, I worry for him, for all of us. Kakashi put a hand on the window frame. He's not alone, Lord Hawkins, he's got Team 7 and me. Hiruzen nodded, grateful. Keep an eye on him, not as a weapon but as a child who deserves a future. Kakashi bowed, always. Back in his room, Naruto lay awake, staring at the moon through his window. The village was quiet. The shadows seemed less threatening tonight. He listened to the soft breathing of his clones, already asleep in the next room, and let himself believe for a moment that maybe he could control whatever was inside him. Maybe the game wasn't just about survival. Maybe it was about learning who he really was. He smiled, a little sad, a little hopeful. Somewhere in the darkness, the sword in his dream gleamed brighter than ever. When Team 7 first got the wave mission, Naruto couldn't help himself. He practically bounced off the walls of the Hokage's office. A real C rank, he shouted, pumping his fists. We're finally done with cat rescues and paint jobs. Sakura rolled her eyes, but there was a hidden smile on her lips. Even Sasuke looked interested, his posture just a little more alert than usual. Kakashi, standing beside the mission desk, only gave his usual one-eyed smile. Hiruzen Sarutobi looked over the scroll again. You'll escort Tazuna, a bridge builder from the land of waves, until his work is complete. Keep your guard up. Things aren't always as simple as they seem. Naruto saluted, headband gleaming. We won't let you down, old man. Tazuna, a tired-looking man with stubble and a wide-brimmed hat, sized up the team and grunted. You look like a bunch of brats except the Cyclops. Are you sure you're up for this? Kakashi waved lazily. Don't worry, Tazuna-san, these brats are full of surprises. Naruto puffed out his chest, but inside, nerves prickled. He wanted to prove himself, to show he belonged. He wanted to protect someone for real, not just prank villagers and play hero for his friends. He wanted to see how far his power would go in the real world. The journey started quiet. They followed the main road, Tazuna's slow steps setting the pace. The forest was green and damp, the path winding through sun and shadow. Kakashi read his orange book as always, but his single visible eye missed nothing. Sakura tried to keep up a conversation with Sasuke, mostly about the countryside and local legends, but Sasuke's answers were short. Naruto walked in the back, practicing hand signs behind his back and humming to himself. He kept glancing at the trees, feeling that old, cold pressure, the sense of being watched. But this time, it wasn't Root or Anbu or even Danzo. This was something wild, dangerous, lurking at the edge of the path. Kakashi must have sensed it too. He stopped the team before noon, making everyone crouch low in the brush. Something's not right, he said quietly. Stay alert. Naruto tensed, heart pounding. He pressed his palm to the dirt, reaching for that slippery, hidden feeling, the one that let him fade from attention, twist perceptions, slip between cracks. He focused, eyes darting, senses wide open. A drop of water fell to the path in front of him, then another. He almost missed the glint of wire in the grass. The demon brothers struck fast, two masked men with claws, leaping from the trees with silent fury. Sakura screamed. Sasuke moved in a blur, knocking Tazuna flat and jumping between him and the attackers. Naruto hesitated for a heartbeat, memories of all his failures running through his head. Then he threw himself into the fight, hands flying through seals. Shadow Clone Jutsu. 3 clones popped into existence, rushing the demon brothers from behind. One clone distracted the first attacker, another swung wide, and the third tripped over a rock. The attackers cut through 2 clones with ease, but the last one exploded in a cloud of smoke right in their faces. Naruto moved, using the distraction to grab Tazuna's sleeve and drag him back. Kakashi dropped his book, moving so fast he was a blur. He caught both demon brothers in a heartbeat, binding them with ninja wire and slamming them to the ground. It was over in moments. Sakura knelt, shaking but safe. Sasuke stood watch, eyes narrowed, kunai ready. Kakashi gave Naruto a small nod. Nice timing with those clones. Naruto grinned, chest swelling with pride. Told you I was a real ninja. Kakashi's gaze lingered on him for a long second, thoughtful, a little concerned, but he only said, let's keep moving, there may be more. The rest of the trip was tense. Tazuna tried to brush it off, claiming bandits were nothing, but even he kept glancing over his shoulder. Naruto felt the pressure growing, not fear, exactly something else. like he was walking through a story that was about to turn dark. When they reached the land of waves, the world changed. The trees grew thicker, the air heavy with mist. Houses were smaller, dirtier. The people they passed looked hungry, tired, and afraid. Naruto's heart ached watching a little boy stare at Team 7 from behind a half-collapsed fence. The boy had dark eyes and clutched a wooden toy in his hand. Sakura followed his gaze. Things are really hard here, huh? Tazuna grunted, that's Gato's doing. He runs this place, steals, bribes, threatens. The only hope we have left is the bridge. Naruto frowned, then we'll protect you and finish the bridge, believe it. For the first time, Tazuna almost smiled. They reached Tazuna's home at dusk. Inside, his daughter Tsunami cooked a hot meal, and her son Inari glared at Naruto from under a shock of dark hair. Naruto tried to break the ice with a grin. Hey, you like ninja? I'm pretty awesome if I say so myself. Inari didn't answer, he just stared cold and silent. Tsunami offered Sakura a towel and asked if anyone wanted seconds. Naruto ate 3 bowls, barely pausing to breathe. That night, as he lay on the mat, Naruto watched the ceiling and tried to push away the old, cold dreams that nipped at his thoughts. He listened to Inari's quiet snores, to Sakura's gentle breathing, to the soft wind rattling the shutters. When sleep came, it was full of swords and fog and laughter that wasn't his. Morning came with a cold shock. Fog pressed against the windows. Kakashi was already awake, moving quietly, eyes sharp. We move at sunrise, he said. Stay close, today could get dangerous. Tazuna led them to the bridge site, a massive, half-finished structure stretching across the waves. Workers hammered and shouted, glancing nervously at every stranger. Naruto gawked at the view. It's huge. Tazuna nodded, it's hope. Sasuke leaned on the railing, eyes scanning the water. We're being watched again. Kakashi nodded, everyone stay alert. Naruto did his best, but his mind kept wandering. He kept sensing shadows moving just out of sight, sometimes just fishermen, sometimes more. Once he saw a shape flicker across the mist, almost too fast for his eyes. He pressed his hand to his chest, feeling for that strange power inside him. It hummed, ready, eager. The attack came before noon. A sword sliced through the mist, splitting a crane in half. Workers scattered, screaming. A tall, masked figure strode onto the bridge, sword resting on his shoulder. Zabuza Mamachi. Kakashi's posture changed instantly, every line of his body alert. Stay back, this one's mine. Naruto's heart pounded. He recognized the name. Zabuza was famous, the demon of the hidden mist, a real, deadly ninja. Zabuza's eyes swept over the team. So, the leaf sent children to guard the bridge builder, how disappointing. Kakashi drew a kunai, voice calm. Don't underestimate them, they're not ordinary kids. Zabuza smirked, we'll see. Mist rolled over the bridge, thick as soup. Zabuza moved like a ghost, swinging his sword with impossible speed. Kakashi countered, steel clashing against steel, water exploding under their feet. Sakura shielded Tazuna, hands shaking but eyes determined. Sasuke hovered at the edge, tense, scanning for openings. Naruto felt useless, the fight moving too fast for him to follow. He tried to help, making clones and rushing into the mist, but each one got cut down in seconds. The cold presence inside him stirred. You're not weak, it whispered, you just have to see the truth. Naruto squeezed his eyes shut, focusing. He reached for that slippery feeling, the one that bent light, turned him invisible, made people forget. He took a deep breath, willing himself to be more. Suddenly, the mist shifted. Zabuza froze, his grip faltering for just a second. Kakashi's eye flickered to Naruto, surprised. Sasuke gasped, did you see that? Naruto stood perfectly still, hands at his sides, the air shimmering around him. For a heartbeat, every shadow on the bridge doubled, every sound echoed. Zabuza growled, spinning, who's there? Naruto grinned, right behind you, ugly. Zabuza slashed at empty air. Naruto ducked, rolling under the attack. For a second, he was Naruto, he was someone else, someone who could move through fog and danger without being touched. The feeling faded as fast as it came. Naruto staggered, breathless. Kakashi launched his counterattack, pinning Zabuza with water clones. The real fight was only beginning. Zabuza whistled, and another figure appeared, a boy in a mask, eyes gentle and sad. Haku. Naruto blinked, unsure what to make of him. Haku moved quietly, sliding beside Zabuza, needles glinting in his hand. Naruto felt the old, cold presence stir. "This one is different," it whispered. "Be careful." Sasuke readied his kunai. "There's two now, we're outmatched." Naruto shook his head. "No, we just have to fight smarter." He focused, splitting himself into a handful of clones and sending them around the edges of the bridge, searching for openings. Each clone whispered observations back to him, their minds linked. Haku's eyes followed the movement. For a moment, his gaze met Naruto's. Something silent passed between them, recognition, understanding, maybe even pity. Zabuza and Kakashi fought, water and steel clashing. Sakura shouted encouragement from behind the safety of a concrete pillar. Naruto and Sasuke edged forward, circling Haku. Haku threw needles impossibly fast. Sasuke dodged barely, but a clone took one in the chest and vanished. Naruto tried a genjutsu, letting his chakra slip and shimmer, hopping to confuse Haku. For a moment, the mist thickened and Haku seemed to lose focus. Sasuke seized the chance, launching a volley of shuriken. Haku flipped away, graceful as a dancer, landing on the far side of the bridge. "Well done," he said softly, "but you'll have to do better." Naruto grinned, feeling alive. "Bring it." The fight raged for what felt like forever. Kakashi unleashed his Sharingan, matching Zabuza move for move. Sakura and Tazuna ducked for cover. Naruto and Sasuke worked in tandem, backing each other up, trading attacks with Haku. At one point, Haku trapped Sasuke in a circle of mirrors, ice, cold, and perfect, reflecting 1,000 images of the boy's shocked face. Naruto rushed to help, pounding on the mirrors. His power surged. He reached out with his mind, trying to find the thread of illusion, the lie in the reflection. For a split second, he felt something give. The mirrors shimmered and Haku flinched. Sasuke broke free, slamming a fist through the nearest pane. Haku staggered, breathing hard. He looked at Naruto, truly seeing him for the first time. "You're not like the others," Haku said quietly. Naruto shrugged, grinning. "Neither are you." The battle ended with a flash of Kakashi's lightning and a final, desperate stand by Zabuza and Haku. They retreated, wounded but alive, vanishing into the mist. The bridge crew emerged, shaken but safe. Naruto collapsed to the boards, panting. Sasuke slumped beside him, rubbing his shoulder. Sakura ran to Tazuna, helping him up. Kakashi walked over, ruffling Naruto's hair. "Not bad, kids, you held your own." Naruto looked up, grinning. "Told you I'm not just a troublemaker." Kakashi smiled, softer than usual. "No, you're not." That night, Team 7 camped at Tazuna's house, exhausted but triumphant. Tsunami patched up their wounds. Inari finally spoke to Naruto, shy and quiet. "Were you scared?" he asked. Naruto nodded. "Yeah, but sometimes you have to be brave even if you're scared. That's what being a ninja means." Inari stared at him, eyes wide. For the first time, Naruto felt like someone understood. He fell asleep dreaming of waves and swords and reflections of the line between illusion and truth, and the hope that maybe he could be more than just a vessel for someone else's power. Maybe he could be a hero. The world outside was gray and still, the morning mist drifting across the unfinished bridge. Naruto blinked awake to find Tsunami bustling in the kitchen and Inari curled beside him, mumbling in his sleep. For a moment, Naruto let himself enjoy the quiet. No alarms, no angry shopkeepers, just the gentle clink of dishes and the sound of rain on the roof. Then he remembered the battle from the day before, Zabuza's blade, Kakashi's Sharingan, the masked boy with sad eyes and silent needles. The memory prickled at the back of his mind like a warning. Sakura nudged him, her hair still damp from a quick wash. "You're drooling." Naruto wiped his mouth with the back of his sleeve and grinned. "You're just jealous I had good dreams." She shook her head but managed a faint smile. "Eat something, we're moving out soon." Sasuke appeared at the door, already dressed and ready. He didn't say anything, just nodded toward the front gate where Kakashi waited in the rain. Naruto wolfed down his breakfast, thanked Tsunami, and followed the others outside. The world felt heavy, expectant. Today would not be a day for simple missions or easy victories. Kakashi led them back to the bridge at sunrise, eyes sharp, posture tense. Tazuna waited for them with a handful of tired workers, all of them clutching tools like weapons. We finish this bridge today, Tazuna declared, no matter what. Naruto pumped his fist. We've got your back, old man. Kakashi placed a steady hand on Naruto's shoulder. Stay close, Zabuza and his partner will return. Naruto nodded, nerves twisting in his stomach. He could feel that strange power inside him, shifting and restless. The team took positions, Sakura by Tazuna, Sasuke and Naruto flanking Kakashi. The mist thickened, swallowing the world in white silence. For a while nothing happened. The only sound was the hammering of nails and the distant call of a gull. Then the world changed. Ice exploded from the ground, tall and glittering, slicing through the mist like knives. Zabuza appeared on one end of the bridge, sword raised, grinning behind his bandages. Haku materialized at the other, masked and silent, needles shining between his fingers. Kakashi and Zabuza met in a clash of water and steel. Sakura pulled Tazuna behind a stack of lumber. Naruto and Sasuke found themselves face to face with Haku. You don't have to do this, Naruto called. You're not like him, you're your kind. Haku's voice was soft and sad. We all do what we must to protect what we love. Sasuke threw a kunai fast and precise. Haku blurred, vanishing into a ring of mirrors. Naruto's breath caught. The mirrors formed a dome, ice cold and impossibly smooth, surrounding him and Sasuke. Haku's reflection appeared in every pane, dozens of eyes, all watching. Sasuke cursed under his breath, get ready, Dobi. Naruto tried to laugh, but his voice was thin. I was born ready. But inside, the cold feeling spread. The presence, Aizen or whatever it was, leaned closer, whispering in his ear. Focus, Naruto, illusions are just another kind of power. Haku's attack was relentless. Needles flew from every direction. Sasuke darted back and forth, sharing and spinning, deflecting the worst of it. Naruto made clones, trying to break the mirrors, but each was cut down instantly. A clone managed to slip on a patch of ice and slide face-first into a mirror, popping with a ridiculous boing sound that echoed oddly in the dome. Sasuke groaned, your clones are useless. One last clone appeared beside him, clutching its knee and wincing. I resent that. Haku watched them, silent and focused. You two are strong, but not strong enough. Naruto's anger flared. He gritted his teeth, focusing on that strange twist of power. He let his chakra flow, not just in the normal way, but letting the edges blur, the world shimmer. He stared into a mirror and willed his reflection to move. For a heartbeat, he saw not himself, but that older, colder man, the Aizen echo, standing where his reflection should be. Who are you? Naruto whispered. The reflection smiled. Who do you want to be? Haku's needles struck, snapping the moment. Naruto snapped back to the fight. Enough hiding, he yelled. He pressed his hand to the ice, trying to feel the genjutsu pattern, the trick beneath the surface. For a moment, he caught a thread of it, a subtle play of light, a distortion, not just a physical trap, but an illusion wrapped around reality. He sent a surge of chakra into the mirror. The glass cracked, spiderwebbing across one pane. Sasuke saw the break and lunged, launching a barrage of shuriken. Haku reappeared, blocking the attack. For the first time, Naruto saw surprise in Haku's eyes. You're adapting, Haku murmured. Impressive. Sasuke panted, sweat dripping down his face. We're not losing here. Naruto nodded, heart thundering. Let's go. They moved together. Sasuke covered Naruto, blocking needles with kunai. Naruto focused on the feeling, slipping between what was real and what wasn't. He made more clones, sending them at the weakest points. The battle grew wild, needles whistled, clones bickered and dove for cover. One clone yelled, dibs on not dying this time, and ducked as a needle flew overhead. Another clone tried to psych Haku out by sticking its tongue out in every mirror. Even Sasuke had to stifle a laugh. You're hopeless. But Naruto's tactic worked. The distractions let Sasuke close in on Haku's real position. For a moment, time slowed. Sasuke's eyes flashed red. He moved with impossible speed, striking Haku and shattering a mirror completely. The dome cracked, ice raining down in shards. Haku dropped to one knee, breathing hard. His mask was chipped. Sasuke stood tall, defiant. It's over. Naruto stepped forward, the cold presence in his chest swirling, both warning and encouraging. But Haku was not done. He threw a handful of needles, aiming straight for Sasuke's chest. Naruto moved without thinking, body, mind, even that hidden, older part of himself all working together. He wove chakra through the air, sending an illusion over the bridge. For everyone outside the dome, time seemed to freeze. Even Sakura, outside, blinked and felt the world grow quiet. Haku's needles slowed, bending in midair, veering just wide of Sasuke's heart. One grazed his arm, drawing blood but missing anything vital. Sasuke stared at Naruto, eyes wide. What did you just do? Naruto shook, barely able to stand. I don't know, it just happened. Haku stared at Naruto, truly seeing him for the first time. That was not ordinary genjutsu. What are you? Naruto didn't have an answer. The presence inside him was silent, watching. The battle outside had reached its climax. Kakashi drove Zabuza back with the power of the Sharingan, lightning crackling in his hand. Zabuza fell, defeated but not dead, his giant sword clattering to the ground. Haku moved to protect Zabuza, stepping between him and Kakashi. Sakura rushed to Sasuke and Naruto, kneeling by Sasuke's side, tears in her eyes. You're both alive, she whispered, relief flooding her voice. Naruto looked at Haku, sadness welling up in his chest. He remembered the words Haku had spoken before the fight began. We all do what we must to protect what we love. Inari and Tsunami arrived at the bridge, bringing hope with them. The workers gathered, murmuring. Haku knelt by Zabuza's side, pulling off his mask. His eyes were gentle, full of sorrow and pride. Thank you for fighting me seriously, Haku said to Naruto and Sasuke. You helped me remember who I am. Naruto blinked back tears. You don't have to die, you can start over. Haku smiled, shaking his head. Not everyone gets a second chance. Zabuza, battered and broken, looked at Naruto and the others, his face unreadable. For a moment everything was still, the bridge, the village, the cold water below. Then, as if a signal passed through the mist, Gado's thugs poured onto the bridge, shouting threats, brandishing weapons. The townsfolk panicked, scattering. Naruto stood, planting his feet. You're not hurting anyone else, he shouted. Sasuke limped to his side, kunai raised. Sakura shielded Inari and Tsunami. Kakashi dragged himself upright, ready for more. But it was Zabuza who rose, sword in hand, staggering forward despite his wounds. He cut a path through Gado's men, vengeance in his eyes. Naruto watched, breathless, as Zabuza fell at last beside Haku, both of them finding peace in the end. After the fight, Naruto sat on the edge of the bridge, legs dangling over the water. The cold presence in his chest was quieter now, almost gentle. Sakura sat beside him, bandaging Sasuke's arm. You did good, Naruto, she said quietly. Naruto stared at his hands. I almost lost control. I could have hurt you or Sasuke or everyone. Sakura shook her head. You saved us, you saved everyone. Sasuke scowled, but his voice was softer than usual. Don't get cocky, but thanks. Naruto smiled, a little sad, a little proud. The villagers finished the bridge. Tazuna named it the Great Naruto Bridge in their honor. On the last night before they left, Inari sat with Naruto under the stars. You're the bravest person I know, Inari whispered. Naruto grinned. Nah, I'm just stubborn. Inari shook his head. No, you're a hero. Naruto looked up at the moon, thinking of Haku, Zabuza, and the strange power inside him. He hoped he could keep being the kind of hero the village needed. As Team 7 walked home in the morning light, Naruto glanced at his reflection in a puddle. For a second, he saw that older, colder face, Aizen's memory or his own potential, smiling back at him. He winked and the reflection disappeared. The sky was gray as Team 7 returned to Konoha, their footsteps tired but steady. Naruto didn't bounce ahead or shout about ramen. Even Sakura's voice was quiet and Sasuke walked a little slower, his arm still bandaged. Kakashi led the way, silent for once, his gaze far away. They left the land of waves behind, but the memories clung to them like the damp sea mist. Zabuza and Haku's final moments replayed in Naruto's head, a swirl of sacrifice, forgiveness, and that unbearable ache of goodbyes. He remembered Haku's quiet voice, the way the cold presence inside him had surged and then gone still. He remembered the way Sakura had wept not just for them, but for everyone who didn't get a second chance. No one spoke until the village gates came into view. Then, as if the spell was broken, Sakura sighed in relief. We made it. Naruto looked up at the stone faces of the Hokage carved into the mountain. For the first time, the sight made him feel a little empty. The mission report was quick and quiet. Team 7 stood before the Hokage, Kakashi summarizing the bridge's completion, the defeat of Gato, and the losses on both sides. Hiruzen Sarutobi listened, pipe in hand, eyes sharp. "Good work," the third finally said. "You have all grown." Naruto couldn't help it, he blurted out, "But we didn't save everyone." Hiruzen met his gaze, kind but tired. "No ninja can, but you showed mercy, courage, and strength. Remember those lessons, Naruto." Naruto nodded, biting his lip. As they left the tower, Kakashi paused, turning to face his students. "You did well out there. Take some time to rest. The next missions won't get easier." Sasuke grunted, already turning away. Sakura gave Naruto a quick, fierce hug before hurrying after Sasuke. Naruto stood in the Hokage's hallway, watching the world pass by. He felt both older and very, very young. He wandered Konoha without thinking. The shops bustled, the air smelled of fresh bread and rain, and the crowds moved around him as if he wasn't there. He heard the whispers again. "That's the demon boy. Did you hear about what happened in the land of waves?" But he was too tired to care. His feet carried him to Ikaraku Ramen. Kyuchai looked up, concern flickering across his face. "You okay, Naruto?" Naruto slid onto a stool, resting his chin in his hands. "I dunno, I thought beating the bad guys would feel better." Kyuchai started to say something, but Aim just placed a hot bowl in front of Naruto and ruffled his hair. "Eat sometimes, that's all you can do." Naruto managed a weak smile. "Thanks." He finished his meal, but the warmth didn't reach the hollow in his chest. That night, Naruto sat on his rooftop, knees tucked under his chin. The village lights sparkled below, but the world felt too big and too quiet. He took out his battered sketchbook and flipped to the sword, the same one from his dreams, its lines growing sharper with every page. He pressed his finger to the drawing, and for the first time in days, the cold presence stirred. "You're grieving," it whispered. "Why? They were enemies. Weakness has no place in power." Naruto scowled. "That's not true. He was just like me. Alone, scared, he just wanted to protect someone." The presence was silent for a moment, then colder than ever. "Kindness is a weapon for the naive." Naruto closed the book, hands shaking. "I'm not you," he whispered. "I never will be." But the words felt small in the darkness. Elsewhere in the village, the Hokage pored over new reports in his office. He read the line twice. "Unexplained chakra surge, double helix signature, root reports unusual effects during surveillance." Hiruzen frowned, summoning a trusted ANBU. "Keep Naruto under observation, quietly. Danzo must not interfere." The ANBU nodded and vanished. Hiruzen leaned back, worry carving deep lines in his face. Meanwhile, deep below Konoha, Danzo gripped a root agent's report in one hand. "Subject Uzumaki," the agent intoned, "displayed defensive genjutsu and unconscious chakra manipulation during wave mission. Witnesses described impossible illusions and memory gaps. Sensors recorded double helix chakra spikes." Danzo's single eye narrowed. "The transformation is accelerating. Begin preparations for extraction. If the Hokage interferes, remove him from the operation." The agent bowed and disappeared into the shadows. Danzo turned to a scroll on his desk, one that mentioned the legend of the Illusion King. "Soon," he whispered, "Konoha's future will be decided by that boy's power." Naruto barely slept. When he did, his dreams were strange, half memories, half nightmares. He stood on a tower, hundreds of faceless figures bowing below him. The sword was in his hand, glowing with power. He heard Haku's voice, then Aizen's, cold, mocking, never quite gone. "Emotion is a weakness. Alone you're strong." But Naruto shook his head, even in the dream. "I don't want to be alone," he whispered. He woke with a start, heart pounding, the room cold with dawn. Training didn't help. Even his clones seemed quiet, glancing at him with uncertain eyes. He found Sasuke at the training ground, throwing kunai at a distant log. "You look like crap," Sasuke said, not looking up. Naruto forced a smirk. "You always say that." Sasuke threw another kunai. "You saved my life in the mirrors. I never said thanks." Naruto blinked, surprised. I couldn't let you die, not before I beat you myself." Sasuke almost smiled. "Next time don't get in my way." They trained together side by side. No words, just the quiet rhythm of movement, the comfort of someone else's presence. Sakura joined them that afternoon. She brought onigiri and forced both boys to sit in the shade and eat. She watched them with worried eyes, but she didn't push. "You two are hopeless," she said, mouth twitching, "but I'm glad you're okay." Naruto tried to joke, but it felt hollow. Still, when Sakura laughed even a little, he felt the weight on his chest lift. Later, as dusk fell, Naruto wandered the village alone. He passed Hinata near the Hyuga compound, watching as she comforted a crying child. Bullies lingered nearby, snickering. Naruto frowned, slipping into the shadows. With barely a thought, he wove a simple illusion, making it look like a swarm of bees was chasing the bullies. They shrieked and ran, leaving Hinata and the child alone. Hinata saw him, her cheeks flushing. Thank you, Naruto." Naruto shrugged, rubbing his neck. "No big deal, you're always helping people." Hinata figured I should too. She smiled, small and genuine. "You always do, Naruto-kun." He felt lighter as he walked away. That night, Naruto stared at the stars, his sketchbook open beside him. "Emotion is a weakness," the words echoed. But then he remembered Haku's smile, Sakura's hug, Sasuke's grudging thanks, Hinata's gentle gratitude. He pressed his finger to the sword on the page. "No," Naruto whispered, "emotion is what makes me strong." The cold presence inside him shifted, uncertain. For the first time, Naruto felt hope. He might be haunted by something old and powerful, but he still had a choice. He would fight not just for himself, but for everyone who'd ever been alone. Elsewhere, root sensors flared to life, recording another double helix surge. Danzo smiled in the shadows. "Everything is proceeding as planned." But above ground, the Hokage stared into the night, praying for the soul of a boy who carried more than anyone should. A week passed since Team 7 returned from the Land of Waves. The days slipped back into old routines, missions, training, the smell of rain-washed stone in Konoha's alleys, and the chatter of a village mostly unaware of how close they'd come to disaster. For Naruto, life moved both faster and slower. The ordinary world felt different after what he'd seen. He woke with the memory of Haku's words echoing in his head and Aizen's cold voice sometimes at the edge of his thoughts. But he also woke to sunlight on his pillow, the hum of distant voices, and the promise of another day to prove himself. He'd grown stronger, he could feel it in every muscle, every spark of chakra. But most of all, he felt it in the eyes of his teammates, the way Sakura smiled more easily, the grudging respect in Sasuke's gaze. And that respect, once noticed, grew into something more, a rivalry neither boy could ignore. Naruto found Sasuke waiting at their usual training ground one morning, already throwing shuriken with a force that split bark from a faraway tree. Naruto grinned, bouncing on his heels. "Race you to the river and back." Sasuke didn't glance over. "Don't cry when you lose." Naruto took off before Sasuke finished speaking. Sasuke darted after him, feet barely touching the earth. They weaved through the woods, leapt fallen logs, and splashed across the river, neck and neck. Sasuke pulled ahead, chakra swirling around his feet. Naruto laughed, pushing harder, his own chakra bubbling with the new, slippery feeling he'd started to trust, part instinct, part that mysterious other self. As they neared the finish, Naruto formed a single hand sign behind his back. Sasuke glanced over, eyes narrowed. "Don't even." A Naruto clone burst from the bushes, leaping onto Sasuke's back. Sasuke tripped, flinging the clone into a tree, only for two more to pop up beside Naruto at the finish line. Sasuke arrived half a second later, scowling as the clones cheered and danced. "Cheating, Dobi." Naruto threw his arms up. "Tactics team." They glared at each other, but their smiles broke through, fierce and bright. Later that morning, Kakashi joined them, book in hand. He watched the boys spar, swapping kicks and blocks, neither backing down. Sakura arrived with a sigh, arms full of groceries. "You two are obsessed, can't you just talk like normal people?" Naruto ducked a punch, laughing. "Fighting how we talk." Sasuke swept Naruto's legs, but Naruto caught himself with a burst of chakra and flipped back up. The world blurred for a second, the familiar cold thrill humming inside him. He saw himself older, a crowd bowing before him, the glint of Kyoka Suichisu's blade. He blinked and Sasuke's fist almost caught him in the jaw. "Focus," Sasuke snapped, annoyed. Naruto shook off the vision. "I am." Sakura tossed them both rice balls. "Eat before you kill each other." Kakashi watched from the shade, eyes crinkling. Keep this up and you'll both be Jonin before long. Naruto grinned, mouth full. You hear that, Sasuke? Jonin. Sasuke rolled his eyes but didn't argue. After lunch, Team 7's mission was simple: patrol the village perimeter and check for anything suspicious. Kakashi let the three genin take the lead, promising to observe their teamwork. As they crossed the training fields, Sakura nudged Naruto. You're different lately. Naruto frowned. How? She considered, chewing her lip. You're sharper, not just your jutsu, your ideas. You pay more attention. Sometimes it's almost creepy. Naruto flushed, not sure if it was a compliment. I'm just tired of messing up, I guess. Sasuke cut in. You're hiding something. I saw it in Wave. You and that genjutsu, no one taught you that. Naruto felt the cold presence stir but forced a shrug. Guess I'm a genius after all. Sasuke snorted, but his eyes narrowed thoughtfully. As they rounded a corner near the academy, they heard shouting, a pack of older boys jeering, a younger voice pleading. Naruto tensed, recognizing the tone. They turned to see Hinata Hyuga cornered by three boys twice her size, her backpack dumped on the ground. One bully shoved her. Say you're sorry, freak. Hinata shrank back, tears in her eyes. Please, just let me go. Sakura started forward, but Naruto was faster. He strode up, planting himself between Hinata and the bullies, blue eyes blazing. Back off or else. The bullies sneered. What's the demon going to do? Naruto smiled a wide, too bright grin. I don't need to do anything. Behind him, Sakura and Sasuke watched, unsure. Naruto focused, letting his chakra slip. The air shimmered for a split second. Suddenly, the bullies froze, eyes wide and unfocused. One whimpered, did you see that shadow? Another shook, dropping Hinata's bag. Naruto's smile faded to something gentle. Go home. The boys bolted, stumbling over each other as they ran. Hinata stared at Naruto, awe and gratitude shining in her eyes. Thank you, Naruto-kun. Naruto scratched his head, suddenly shy. It's nothing, you okay? She nodded, cheeks pink. You're different. He shrugged, feeling awkward, just trying to help. Sakura stepped in, giving Hinata her bag. Those jerks won't bother you again. Sasuke watched Naruto with new suspicion, but didn't comment. The story spread through the academy by afternoon. Phantom Naruto scared the bullies so badly they apologized to every girl in class, even the teachers. Kids swapped wild rumors. Naruto could vanish. Naruto could make you see ghosts. Naruto was secretly a hero. Naruto pretended not to notice, but inside he was proud. For once, the whispers were good. That night, Team 7 relaxed in the market square, watching a traveling performer juggle fire. Sakura giggled at the sight of Naruto's clone trying to mimic the tricks, only to set its own sleeve on fire and run screaming into a water barrel. Sasuke snorted, you're hopeless. Naruto grinned, wringing out his wet jacket. I'm entertaining at least. Sakura shook her head, hiding a smile. As the show ended, Naruto glanced up at the rooftops. He caught a flicker of movement, a shadow too quick to be an ANBU, too smooth to be just a civilian. The old sense of being watched prickled his skin. In a shadowed alley, Orochimaru listened to the children's laughter. His golden eyes gleamed with interest. So the vessel grows more intriguing, he murmured, tongue flicking over his lips. Not just the Kyubai's host, something else. He smiled, blending into the night. I must see this power for myself. Naruto walked home under the stars, clone trailing behind, both lost in thought. He paused at a pond, gazing at his reflection. For a split second he saw two faces, his own and another's, colder eyes gleaming with secrets. The image vanished as a breeze rippled the water. Naruto shivered. I'm still me, he whispered, no matter what. His clone nodded, voice quiet for once. Yeah, we're still us. Naruto smiled, warmth spreading in his chest. He headed home, hope battling old fear. Meanwhile, in Root's underground lair, Danzo received a new report. Orochimaru sighted near Uzumaki. Probability of interference high. Danzo's lips thinned. If Orochimaru wants the boy, he must not succeed. Prepare contingencies. The village above slept on, unaware of the storms brewing beneath. At dawn, Naruto awoke to sunlight and birdsong. He stretched, feeling the strength in his limbs, the energy buzzing beneath his skin. He was different now, and he knew it. Stronger, yes, but not alone. As he raced toward the training ground, racing his own shadow, Naruto grinned, ready for whatever came next. He was Naruto Uzumaki. Whatever power waited inside, whatever mask he wore, he would make it his own. And he would never stop running forward. The announcement hit the village like a lightning strike. The Chunin exams were coming. For every genin in Konoha, it meant one thing, a shot at real recognition. For Naruto, it was even more, a chance to show everyone he was more than the demon boy. He could be a leader, a hero, maybe even a legend. He arrived at the academy on the first day of the exams wearing his brightest orange jacket and headband polished until it gleamed. Sasuke looked bored but alert, standing with his hands in his pockets. Sakura hovered nearby, nervous and excited, clutching her exam slip. The main hall buzzed with energy. Genin teams from across the village and even other lands gathered in noisy clumps, sizing each other up. Naruto grinned at Team 10, waved at Kiba and Shino, and even exchanged nods with Neji, though Neji's pale eyes stayed cold. Iruka, now an observer, caught Naruto's gaze and gave him a small, proud nod. "Don't mess up, Naruto," Sakura whispered, clutching her exam slip like a lifeline. Naruto winked. "When have I ever messed up?" Sasuke smirked. "How much time do you have?" The first test was in a big, echoing classroom. Rows of desks, clipboards, and a dozen grim-faced proctors stood watching. Ibiki Morino, a scarred man with a shaven head and unreadable eyes, introduced the written portion. Naruto nearly groaned out loud. "A paper test, lame." Sakura, as expected, was all business. "We have to pass this, Naruto, no tricks." But Ibiki smiled, cold and sharp. "The rules are simple, no cheating or you fail. 5 points for every answer. If you're caught, your whole team is out. Begin." Naruto stared at the questions. Everyone was impossibly hard: battle tactics, obscure code systems, foreign jutsu theory. He didn't know a single answer. Around the room, subtle signals began, a cough here, a tap of a pencil there. Genin passed hints in ways the proctors struggled to catch, but Ibiki's eyes missed nothing. 2 teams were already marched out before Naruto finished reading question 3. Naruto's stomach twisted. He couldn't let his team down. He remembered that slippery, sideways feeling, the way he could vanish, slip between notice and memory, the thing inside him that let him fool even Root and Anbu. "Illusions aren't just for fighting," a cold voice whispered inside. He took a breath, gathering his chakra in the smallest trickle. He sent out tiny pulses like flickering shadows at the edge of vision. Around him, the proctors blinked, suddenly distracted, looking away just as Naruto craned his neck to glimpse another genin's paper. He caught a quick glance at Shikamaru's notes, scribbled a few answers, then used a reflection on the window to copy Kiba's work. Each time a proctor turned his way, Naruto sent a ripple of chakra, making them forget where they were looking. Sakura caught on, eyes wide. "Naruto, are you?" He winked but mouthed shhh. Sasuke rolled his eyes but copied 2 answers from the boy in front of him, a rare grin twitching at his lips. By the end of the test, Naruto's page was mostly filled, even if his handwriting was a mess. Ibiki collected the tests, eyes lingering on Naruto for a long moment. For a second, Naruto felt something cold pressing at the edge of his mind, an interrogator's genjutsu, not just testing skill, but will. Naruto stared back, refusing to blink. Ibiki smiled. "You all have one last question, pass and you move on, fail and you never take the Chunin exam again." The tension was thick, Naruto's palms sweated. When Ibiki finally announced that the question was about never giving up, Naruto leapt to his feet and shouted, "Like I'd ever quit." Sasuke and Sakura grinned. Their team had made it. Outside, the air was electric. Teams congratulated each other while a few left in tears. "Nice moves, Naruto," Kiba called, punching his arm. "Don't get cocky," Neji added, but Naruto heard respect in his tone. Hinata lingered at the edge of the crowd, hands twisted together. When Naruto approached, she turned bright red. "You were amazing in there," she stammered. Naruto rubbed his nose, grinning. "Couldn't have done it without a little luck." He saw the worry in her eyes. "You're nervous about the next test?" Hinata nodded. "The forest of death, they say it's dangerous." Naruto gave her a thumbs up. "I've got your back, and so do your teammates." She smiled just a little before running to join her team. The next morning, they gathered at the gates of the Forest of Death, an endless tangle of trees, shadows, and unseen threats. Anko Mitarashi greeted them with a wild grin, twirling a kunai. "Welcome to the real test. You'll be hunting scrolls and each other. Most of you will fail. Some of you might die." Naruto gulped but refused to look scared. Sasuke's eyes were sharp, his chakra simmering. Sakura checked their gear for the third time, determined not to be the weak link. The gates opened and the teams rushed in. Inside, the world was all shadows and movement. Trees towered overhead and the air buzzed with insects. Naruto's senses sharpened. The cold, calculating side of him, the part that remembered Aizen's calm in chaos, rose to the surface. "We need a plan," Sakura said, voice trembling. Sasuke nodded. "Find a weak team, take their scroll, move fast." Naruto grinned, confidence blazing. "Or we let them find us and then outsmart them." He made 5 clones, each one disguised with a faint illusion, different hair, different headbands. The clones scattered, acting as decoys. Soon, rival teams were drawn in, attacking the clones, thinking they were the real Team 7. The real Naruto, Sakura, and Sasuke circled behind, taking down their distracted opponents with quick, clean moves. One team from the Rain Village tried to sneak up on Sakura. She panicked for a second, then remembered Naruto's advice: trust your teammates, trust yourself. She used a paper bomb, blowing the attackers back, and Sasuke knocked them out with a kick. Naruto laughed as a clone dragged another team's scroll back to their hiding place. "You're getting good at this, Sakura," he cheered. She flushed, then grinned, high-fiving him. The day turned to night and the forest grew even more dangerous. Sounds echoed, shapes shifted. Naruto used micro-illusions, making rival teams see traps where none existed or tricking them into fighting each other over fake scrolls. Even Sasuke was impressed. "Not bad, Dobi, you're actually useful." Naruto smirked. "Told you, you just needed to see it." By the third day, they'd collected their target scroll and avoided most fights. At dusk, Team 7 camped under a twisted tree, eating cold rice balls. Naruto watched the firelight flicker on his teammates' faces. He wanted to tell them everything: the strange dreams, the pressure in his chest, the cold, watching presence, but he didn't want to worry them. Instead, he said, "When this is over, ramen's on me." Sasuke raised an eyebrow. "If you survive." Sakura rolled her eyes. "You're both hopeless." They laughed, tension easing. Suddenly, a scream echoed through the woods. The world went still. Naruto sprang to his feet, senses alert. He saw a flash of movement, an enormous snake slithering through the trees, a terrified genin caught in its coils. Sasuke was already moving, shuriken flying. Naruto rushed in, clones forming beside him. The snake turned, striking, but before it could reach them, a figure appeared, a pale, smirking man with long black hair and golden eyes. Orochimaru. Sasuke froze, recognizing the danger. Sakura gasped. Orochimaru's gaze slid over Team 7, lingering on Naruto and Sasuke. So much talent in one place and such potential for greatness. Naruto felt his skin crawl. The cold presence inside him stirred, wary, almost bristling. Orochimaru struck fast as a shadow. Sasuke blocked the first attack, but the snake coiled around him. Naruto wove a hasty genjutsu, making the ground seem to melt under Orochimaru's feet. For a moment, the villain staggered. Sasuke used the opening, slashing the snake's head. Sakura threw kunai, forcing Orochimaru back. Orochimaru's laughter echoed through the trees. "You're both fascinating," he purred, "but only one of you can survive." He lunged, striking at Sasuke with inhuman speed. Naruto moved to intercept, the old, cold power rising. The air shimmered, the world slowing just for a moment. Orochimaru's eyes widened, sensing the otherworldly presence in Naruto. But then the spell broke and he withdrew with a hiss, vanishing into the shadows. Naruto and Sasuke staggered, both out of breath. Sakura hurried to their sides. "What was that?" she whispered, voice shaking. Naruto stared into the darkness, feeling Aizen's power swirl just below his skin. "I don't know," he said honestly, "but it's not over." Above, in the swaying branches, Orochimaru licked his lips, eyes glittering. "Not just a Jinchuriki, something more. The game is far more interesting than I thought." As the forest settled, Team 7 regrouped, holding each other up. Sasuke's hand trembled as he clutched his arm where a faint mark burned, a gift from Orochimaru. Naruto stared at his hands, afraid of what he'd almost unleashed. Sakura wrapped her arms around both boys. We're a team, we'll face this together. But as the shadows grew deeper, Naruto wondered if he could keep that promise. The world inside the Forest of Death never slept. Even after the nightmare of Orochimaru's attack, the wind kept hissing through the twisted trees and the heavy scent of moss and danger clung to everything. Team 7's camp was a battered circle of branches and brush, barely a shelter at all. Naruto lay awake, staring at the shifting shadows above him. He kept replaying the moment Orochimaru's eyes met his, how cold and ancient that gaze had felt, how the other presence in him, the not Naruto part, had coiled with warning. Even now, something inside him buzzed like a warning bell that wouldn't stop ringing. Next to him, Sasuke sat hunched against a tree, cradling his marked shoulder. The strange, angry bruise Orochimaru had left pulsed with dark energy. Sakura kept fussing over him, her face set in worry. "You need to rest," Sakura whispered, tucking a jacket over Sasuke's shoulders. "That mark looks worse." Sasuke scowled but didn't argue. "I'm fine, we have to keep moving." Naruto pulled his knees up, trying to shake the feeling of helplessness. He hated seeing his teammate hurt. He hated even more that for a moment, back there, he'd almost let the thing inside him take control. He needed to do something. Dawn brought no comfort, just a thin gray light that made everything look haunted. Team 7 ate a quiet breakfast of cold rice and stale crackers. "We're too exposed," Sasuke muttered, scanning the brush. "We need to get moving. We still need to reach the tower with both scrolls." Naruto nodded, "And everyone's after us now." Sakura's hand shook as she packed up their supplies. "Are we even strong enough after yesterday?" Naruto forced a smile. "We're Team 7, we always pull through, right?" He tried to sound brave, but part of him wondered, what if Orochimaru came back? Their first challenge came before breakfast was even finished. A trio of sound nin, eyes hungry, grins wide, burst from the trees, moving fast. "Hand over your scrolls or we'll take them off your corpses," the biggest one sneered. Sasuke started to stand, but a wave of pain sent him to one knee. Naruto stepped forward, fists clenched. "Over my dead body," he shot back, channeling just a sliver of his hidden power. The air rippled. The sound nin hesitated, but one lunged anyway. Naruto dodged, then ducked, letting his body move without thinking. For a second, everything felt sharper, the world slowing, his enemy's movement easy to read. The cold presence inside him hummed with approval, offering him a vision. The enemy tripping, his attack missing, the path to victory clear. Naruto followed the instinct, stepping left just as a fist sailed past his head. He countered with a solid punch to the gut, sending the sound nin sprawling. Sakura threw a smoke bomb and the world exploded in gray. Naruto's clones rushed in, cackling and pelting the sound nin with pinecones and old apples. "Take that," one clone shouted. "Next time bring a lunch." Another clone got distracted, eating a pinecone and spitting it out with a dramatic bleh before poofing away. The confusion let Sasuke rise, teeth gritted against the pain. He used a quick fire jutsu to drive the sound nin back. Naruto and Sakura circled behind, driving their attackers into the waiting arms of two more clones. The sound nin finally broke, fleeing with curses and bruises. As silence fell, Sakura dropped to her knees, shaking. Sasuke wiped sweat from his brow, looking at Naruto. "You saw that coming, didn't you?" Naruto shrugged, feeling that cold presence fade. "Just lucky, I guess." But inside, he wondered how much longer he could pretend it was luck. After the fight, they moved deeper into the woods, careful to avoid open trails. The forest was alive with the sounds of distant battles, screams, explosions, the crack of trees falling. Sakura insisted on tending to Sasuke's wound. She tore a strip from her sleeve and pressed it to the curse mark, tears stinging her eyes. "Does it hurt?" she whispered. Sasuke nodded, jaw tight. "It feels like poison, but I can handle it." Naruto watched, guilt gnawing at him. He wanted to help, but he didn't know how. The power inside him was only good for illusions, tricks, and making people forget, none of which could heal his friend. He kicked at a rock, frustrated. "Don't beat yourself up," Sakura said, noticing. "You saved us." Naruto forced a smile. "Just did what I had to." They rested under a twisted tree, watching clouds drift through the breaks in the canopy. Naruto's clones played rock, paper, scissors in the dirt, arguing over who got to scout next. Best 2 out of 3, one clone yelled. You cheated, I saw that, another accused. Sasuke almost smiled, even Sakura laughed just a little. Naruto created another clone and sent it to keep watch. As it ran off, it tripped, tumbled into a bush, and was promptly attacked by a very angry squirrel. Sakura giggled, covering her mouth. Naruto grinned, not all my clones are winners. As the sun reached its peak, Team 7 spotted another group, Team 10, Shikamaru, Choji, and Ino, in a standoff with a group from the sand. Gaara stood at the center, sand swirling around his ankles. His cold, dead eyes met Naruto's, and for a moment, something passed between them, like two predators recognizing each other across a clearing. Shikamaru waved lazily. Hey Naruto, nice day for a death trap, huh? Choji just nodded, eating chips, while Ino glared at Sakura. Naruto and his team kept their distance, unwilling to provoke Gaara or his siblings. They slipped away, hugging the shadows. By late afternoon, they found a quiet hollow to rest. Sakura checked her pack, then paused, pulling out an old, dust-covered book she didn't remember packing. Naruto leaned over. What's that? Sakura frowned, flipping through the pages. I found it near the base of that last tree. It's full of old legends, mostly about genjutsu and illusionists. She stopped at a page titled The Illusion Kings. The illustration showed a tall figure holding a sword eerily similar to the one in Naruto's sketchbook. Sasuke glanced over, eyes narrowing. Looks familiar, Naruto. Naruto felt a cold chill. Yeah, it does. Sakura read aloud. The Illusion King, wielder of Kyoka Suijutsu, could bend the minds of armies. His power was said to come from beyond this world. Some say he never truly died. Naruto swallowed. Creepy bedtime story, huh? But the words stuck with him. As night fell, Team 7 hunkered down, weary and tired. Sasuke was feverish but conscious, the mark on his shoulder pulsing with dark light. Sakura pressed a cool cloth to his forehead, while Naruto sat guard, eyes scanning the shifting trees. Don't let your guard down, Sasuke muttered, voice weak but fierce. Naruto nodded, not planning to. As the forest grew quiet, Naruto took out his own battered sketchbook. He flipped to the sword's page, tracing the blade's shape with a trembling finger. He whispered, Who are you? What do you want from me? A cold wind brushed his face. The presence inside him answered with silence, then with a whisper, Survive, ascend, rule or be ruled. Naruto shut the book and hugged his knees, willing himself to stay awake until dawn. Somewhere deeper in the forest, Orochimaru watched the moon rise, golden eyes gleaming. He licked his lips, savoring the memory of Naruto's power. So the Illusion King lives again, he murmured, but for how long will he remain in the dark? He vanished into the trees, plotting his next move. Team 7 stumbled out of the forest of death, bruised, filthy, and exhausted. The tower loomed ahead, promising food, shelter, and finally, a break from days of paranoia. Naruto's stomach growled the second he saw the open gates. Sakura, her eyes ringed with fatigue but full of determination, supported Sasuke, who limped but refused to let anyone else see his weakness. For a moment, just passing through those doors felt like victory. Inside, a handful of teams had already made it. Shikamaru lounged against the wall, muttering about so much trouble. Lee beamed at them, thumb up, a black eye blossoming on his cheek. Gaara sat alone in a shadowy corner, arms crossed, unmoving except for his sand swirling slowly beneath his gourd. A handful of Chunin proctors ushered them to a medical room. Rest up, prelims start soon, if you're too hurt, you're out. Sakura helped bandage Sasuke's shoulder, fussing despite his grumbling. You almost died, you know. Sasuke looked away. I'm still here. Naruto slumped on his cot, sketchbook clutched to his chest. The legend Sakura read echoed in his mind. Illusion King, Kyoka Suijutsu, power from beyond this world. He wondered, not for the first time, what part of him was still just Naruto. Kakashi slipped into the room, watching all three with that unreadable, half-tired gaze. You survived the forest, that's more than most can say, but the next test is public and everyone will see what you're capable of, be ready. Naruto nodded, not sure if he felt brave or terrified. After a single night's sleep and an army's worth of rice balls, the remaining genin assembled in the tower's great hall. The tension was thick. Rival teams glared, whispered, or sized up the competition. Proctors lined the walls, the Hawkage himself sitting high above, face unreadable. Hey, Gecko, the spindly, constantly coughing proctor, stepped forward. Too many of you passed the second exam. We'll hold one-on-one preliminary matches. Lose and you're out. A collective groan went up. Lee and Neji exchanged determined glances. Ino and Sakura squeezed each other's hands. When the screen flashed the first pairing, Naruto Uzumaki versus Yori Akato, Naruto's heart skipped a beat. Sakura put a reassuring hand on his shoulder. You've got this, just don't go overboard. Sasuke snorted, try not to embarrass us. Naruto grinned, I'll do more than that. He walked into the ring, hearing murmurs ripple through the crowd. Isn't that the demon boy? He's a clown, not a real ninja. Naruto ignored them, focusing on his opponent, Yori, an older genin with narrow eyes and an arrogant smirk. Hey, it coughed, begin. Yori darted forward, aiming to grab Naruto's arm. Naruto sidestepped, clone already forming beside him. Yori smirked, cheap trick. Naruto grinned, if it works, it works. Yori tried again, but Naruto let himself vanish for a split second, slipping through a ripple in reality. Yori's hand closed on empty air. Confused, Yori spun, only to find 3 Narutos circling him. The clones began arguing loudly and obnoxiously. Left, no right. Why are you even here? I'm the real one. Your hair looks like a soggy squirrel. The crowd snickered, Sakura facepalmed, even Sasuke cracked a smile. Yori, furious, lunged at a clone. It popped with a dramatic boom, showering him in pink powder. The next clone stole his headband and put it on backwards, crossing its eyes and making fish faces. Enough, Yori roared, charging. Naruto let his mind go cool, slipping into that illusion space, pulling a thread that was barely visible to anyone but him. Yori's movements slowed, his hands missing, his senses turning muddy. Yori staggered, what's happening? Naruto didn't answer. He sent a single, subtle surge of chakra, just enough to blur Yori's sense of balance. The other genin tripped over his own feet and sprawled in the dust. The crowd gasped for a split second. Some of them blinked as if confused. Had Naruto moved or had Yori just fallen? Hey, it coughed, stepping forward. Winner, Naruto Uzumaki. The applause was hesitant at first, then grew as the crowd realized the fight was over. Sakura cheered, Sasuke smirked, nodding in approval. Naruto left the ring, adrenaline crashing through him. He could still feel that cold presence watching, amused. You could do more, it whispered, why hold back? Naruto ignored it. He sat between Sakura and Sasuke, trying to look casual. The next matches passed in a blur. Sakura and Ino's fight was a whirl of punches and hair-pulling, ending in a double knockout that left both girls pouting. Lee's battle against Gaara left everyone in awe and horror as sand crushed bone and the crowd fell silent. Sasuke's match drew more attention. Even weakened, he moved with a focus that had Naruto gritting his teeth. Sasuke wove through attacks, using a new speed, new fury, but when he looked up at Naruto after his win, there was worry in his eyes. The curse mark glowed beneath his collar. Sakura squeezed Naruto's arm. You scared people today. He glanced at her, startled. Not just the clones or the pranks, she said quietly. Some of the genin are talking, they don't know if you're safe. Naruto felt a cold stab in his guts. He looked around, at the genin who pointed, at the proctors who whispered, at even the Hawkage who watched with a frown. He remembered Haku's Zabuza, the mirror world where he'd bent reality to save Sasuke. He wondered if he was losing touch with what made him Naruto. The cold voice in his mind snickered, they're right to fear you. He clenched his fists, forcing the doubt down. As the last fight ended, hate called for quiet. Those who have passed will face each other in the final rounds 1 month from now. Use this time to train, to heal, and to reflect on what you've become. The hall began to empty. Naruto lingered, watching as friends congratulated each other, as rivals shook hands or glared. Behind him, Danzo watched from a high balcony, masked by shadow. Root agents flanked him, silent as statues. He's changing, Danzo murmured, eyes on Naruto. Too fast, too far, prepare the retrieval team. If chaos breaks out in the finals, we move. Outside, Team 7 walked together in the golden light. Sakura talked of strategies, Sasuke barely hid his limp, and Naruto just watched the way their shadows tangled together on the ground. "You're quiet," Sasuke said, half a taunt. Naruto shrugged, just thinking. Sakura nudged him, smiling. "You're still Naruto, don't let them change that." He managed a real smile, "Thanks." But as they walked away, Naruto wondered if he could keep that promise, if he could be himself, or if the world would only ever see the Illusion King. That night, Naruto lay in bed, sketchbook open to Kyoka Suijutsu. The sword's lines shimmered in the moonlight. A clone perched on the windowsill, watching the stars. "You did good today, boss, even if you freaked out a few people." Naruto smiled, warmth mixing with worry. "I just want them to see me." The clone grinned, "Then keep fighting like yourself." As Naruto drifted to sleep, the cold presence faded, and for the first time in days, his dreams were his own. But outside, Root moved in the shadows, waiting for their chance. Night fell over Konoha, warm and busy. Lanterns bobbed outside food stalls, Genin stumbled home from the prelims, and for the first time in weeks, Naruto felt like he could almost breathe. Almost. He lingered outside the tower, slow walking through the emptying streets. His win today should have felt great, a real, crowd-cheering victory. But he couldn't shake Sakura's words, "You scared people today." The memory of the crowd's uncertain applause echoed in his ears. He ducked into a side street, the city suddenly too big, too loud. His head pounded. He took out his sketchbook, running his thumb along the lines of Kyoka Suijutsu's blade. The air felt colder. A breeze stirred dust at his feet. "They'll never really see you," that calm, ancient voice whispered inside. "You're different, become what you're meant to be." Naruto gritted his teeth, shoving the voice down. "I'm Naruto Uzumaki, not anyone's puppet, not a king, not a monster." The shadows shifted. He sensed it a second before it happened. Chakra signatures, cold and precise, pressing in on all sides. 4, 5, 6 masked figures Root. Their presence wasn't like Anbu, who radiated loyalty. This was hunger calculation. Naruto slid back into the alley, hands moving to form a clone, but before he could finish, smoke bombs burst in front of him. Choking, vision swimming, Naruto fell to his knees. A Root agent's voice, flat as ever, echoed from the smoke. "Naruto Uzumaki, surrender and come with us, do not resist." Naruto's eyes stung, he forced himself to focus. "Yeah, right," he rasped, "like that's ever worked on me." He pushed up, chakra swirling, his senses splitting as clones formed, 5, 10, 20, flooding the alley with orange. Root moved in near-perfect unison. One flickered forward and struck a clone's heart. Another aimed a poison needle at Naruto's neck. He twisted away, but felt the sharp burn of a graze. The world wobbled. For a second he saw double, shadows on shadows. He let go, reaching for that slippery, otherworldly sensation at his core. The world bent around him, light fractured. He whispered, "Kyoka Suijutsu." It was like plunging into cold water. The real world fell away. The alley, the street, the night gone. Instead, the Root agents were suddenly trapped in a place they couldn't recognize, an endless moonlit field, white mist swirling at their feet. One agent raised his hand, but it passed through his own body like smoke. Another reached for Naruto and found his arms bound with chains of shadow. They tried to regroup, but every time they moved, they seemed to end up in the wrong place, turning a corner and returning to where they started, seeing their own faces reflected in black water, hearing the same voice over and over, "You're not in control anymore." Naruto walked among them unseen, a dozen afterimages flickering around his true self. His voice echoed from everywhere and nowhere. A lead agent's mind buckled under the pressure. "Genjutsu, no, it's something else." Naruto didn't let up, he pushed, willing them to feel fear, confusion, helplessness. It was so easy, almost natural. He felt himself drifting, something inside him laughing, cold and triumphant. "This is power," the inner voice purred. "Show them what a king can do." For a moment, Naruto lost himself in it. He watched the Root agents turn on each other, attacking phantoms and shadows. Some fell screaming, clutching their heads. One slumped to the ground, sobbing. He could end it right now, he could break them. His hands shook. Somewhere far away, another memory flickered. Uruka standing in front of him, smiling, proud. Sakura hugging him after the prelims. Sasuke bruised and limping, nodding his respect. the real world, full of pain and laughter, hope and fear. Naruto gasped, yanking himself back. No, he whispered, I'm not you, I won't be you. He let the illusion fall. The moonlit field melted away. The alley returned dark, quiet, broken glass glinting underfoot. The root agents lay sprawled and shuddering, eyes wide with terror. Naruto staggered, breath ragged, sweat streaming down his face. A trembling, exhausted clone landed on his shoulder, voice shaky. Boss, are you okay? Naruto wiped his eyes. I almost was. He knelt beside the nearest root agent, checking for a pulse. Alive, all of them alive, but they'd remember nothing for days, maybe weeks. A door creaked at the end of the alley. Sakura and Sasuke burst through, drawn by the chakra surge. Sasuke looked at the chaos, eyes wide. What the hell happened here? Naruto forced a crooked grin. Killer rabbits, dozens of them. Sakura stared at the fallen agents. Are they alive? Just confused, Naruto said, voice flat. Sasuke looked at Naruto, seeing the wild look in his eyes, the way his hands trembled. He didn't push, just nodded once. Let's go. Naruto followed, feeling the weight of his power heavy on his back. The next morning, word spread fast. Root agents had been found wandering, dazed, some mumbling about mirrors and voices. The Hokage called for a meeting with his advisors. Danzo sat stiffly, bandaged hand on the table. This was no ordinary genjutsu. Hiruzen's gaze was sharp. If you move against Naruto again, you'll answer to me, Danzo. Danzo's eye narrowed. Konoha's safety is my only concern. Hiruzen ignored him. In private, he summoned Kakashi. Watch over Naruto, his strength is growing and so is his danger. Kakashi nodded. He's still a kid, but there's something else inside him, something old. The Hokage sighed, protect him from the world and from himself. Naruto woke to sunlight streaming through his window. He felt drained, as if he'd run for hours in a storm. He checked his hands, half expecting them to be stained with shadow. He found his sketchbook on the floor, Kyoka Suigetsu's blade shimmering in the drawing. He whispered, you're just a tool, not my fate. The cold voice was silent. A faint blue glow flickered across his belly, the Hagioku, hidden inside, pulsing erratically. For a moment, the air warped just a little. Naruto clutched his stomach, wincing at the jolt. What the? He muttered. The feeling faded, but he knew something was changing. Something inside was becoming unstable. He dressed slowly, heading for the door. Outside, kids laughed, vendors called out, and the village moved on, unaware of the war that raged inside one of their own. That night, as Naruto stared at the stars from his rooftop, Sakura and Sasuke joined him, silent and steady. We've got each other's backs, Sakura said, reaching for his hand. Sasuke nodded, his expression softer than usual. Don't forget it, Dobi. Naruto smiled, a real smile, hope shining through the exhaustion. I won't. But in the darkness, the Hagioku flickered again, and the shadow of something new and dangerous crept across the horizon. Let them come, Naruto thought. I'll face whatever's next. The air in Konoha was thick with expectation as the Chunin exam finals began. Stands filled with villagers, nobles, and shinobi from distant lands. Banners snapped in the breeze and the sun beat down on the arena, promising a day of spectacle. For Naruto, everything felt almost normal except for the itch under his skin, the sense of eyes in every shadow, and the memory of Root's ambush clinging like cold sweat. Team 7 gathered in the waiting hall. Sakura checked her pouch for the third time, while Sasuke stared through the wall, lost in thoughts of the curse mark and the upcoming fight. Kakashi ruffled Naruto's hair as if everything were ordinary. You ready, Naruto? He asked, eyes smiling. Naruto grinned, faking confidence. I was born ready, my clones can't wait either. He meant it, his stomach was a nest of butterflies, but as the proctor called for quiet and the gates began to creak open, he forced himself to stand tall. The crowd's roar echoed across the stone. Naruto took his first steps into the light. The opening matches passed in a blur. Lee spun like a hurricane, Shikamaru outthought everyone, Temari's wind howled, and Kinkuro's puppet sent chills through the audience. Sasuke's fight was brutal and swift, the curse mark glowed, but he refused to lose himself. Naruto, up next, cracked his knuckles and walked to the center. His opponent was a sand genin, a puppet user, tall and smirking, certain of his own victory. Don't blink, loser, the genin taunted. Naruto grinned, you sure you want to see what I've got? The match started. Naruto's clones swarmed, each one taking a slightly different approach. One leapt, yelling "Super Ninja Elbow," another threw sand in the puppet's face. A third tripped and tumbled into the stands, landing in a vendor's bowl of soba. The crowd laughed, tension broken for a moment. But beneath the fun, Naruto's eyes narrowed. He sent out tiny pulses of illusion, just flickers, enough to make the sand genin's movements clumsy, his eyes water, his strings tangle. The puppet lashed out, missing by inches. The genin panicked, sweating as the crowd seemed to double and then vanish. Naruto, calm in the eye of his own storm, slipped close, knocking the genin to the ground. Cheers thundered as Hayate called it. Winner, Uzumaki Naruto. Naruto grinned, waving, but inside, the cold presence muttered, such small tricks. Show them real power. He shoved the thought down and left the field, high-fiving Sakura and ignoring the startled looks from the elders. Then came the explosion. A wall of flame burst at the stadium's edge, screams echoed, and suddenly everything was chaos. Sand ninja leapt from the stands, masks pulled down, kunai flashing. Hidden sound ninja followed, detonating seals and releasing sleeping gas. The Konoha crush had begun. Naruto barely dodged a blade as a sand jounin tried to cut through the genin. Sakura grabbed his arm, voice shrill. We need to get to the tower. Where? Sasuke. Kakashi appeared out of nowhere, blocking a sound ninja with a kunai. Stick together, he barked. Find each other and defend the villagers. Naruto's heart raced. He sent clones running in all directions, ordering some to help wounded civilians, others to harass the invaders. But as the chaos grew, his control slipped. One clone led a group of ANBU straight into the bathhouse, yelling, "We'll protect the towels, believe it." Another clone commandeered a food cart, slinging onigiri at Sound Ninja until both sides slipped on rice and fell flat. Kakashi, in the thick of it, caught a flying dango, glared at a clone, and muttered, "He's getting too creative." At the edge of the village, the ground shook. Gaara had transformed, sand swirling around him in monstrous shapes. Temari and Kankuro flanked him, forcing their way through leaf defenses. Naruto and Sakura found Sasuke already fighting the sand trio. The air crackled with chakra and killing intent. Sasuke, wild-eyed and bleeding, yelled, "They're after the Hokage. They'll kill anyone in their way." Temari's fan sent a hurricane blast, scattering tiles. Sakura shielded Naruto as a chunk of wall exploded. Kankuro's puppet lashed out, but Naruto's clones intercepted it, one popping, the other latching onto the puppet's head and spinning it around like a top. "Get off!" Kankuro shouted, horrified as his puppet staggered, eyes crossed. Naruto reached deep for chakra, letting the illusion twist the battlefield. For the sand ninja, the world bent. Naruto appeared in 3 places at once, attacks coming from impossible angles. Some saw him behind them, some in the air. Gaara's sand howled, trying to snatch Naruto, but each time it closed, he was gone, there, not there, slipping through cracks only he could see. He felt the cold presence rise in him, a shudder of something not entirely his. "Push further," it whispered, "make them fear you." For a moment, Gaara and Naruto's eyes met. In Gaara, Naruto saw that same emptiness, that same potential for something monstrous. He felt a tug, empathy, rivalry, warning. Sasuke and Sakura pressed on either side. Together, Team 7 forced Gaara's sand back, working in perfect, desperate rhythm. Illusions and kunai, fire and pink-haired fury. Gaara roared, sand lashing out, catching a Konoha Chunin and pulling him into the air. Without thinking, Naruto lunged, using the illusion to distract Gaara, making him see dozens of Naruto's charging, buying just enough time for the Chunin to escape. But the sand snapped, catching Sakura by the arm. Naruto's world slowed. He saw her pain, her fear. The cold presence in him surged, urging him to cut loose, to shatter everything, to save her at any cost. "No," Naruto whispered, fighting for control. "I'll do it my way." With a roar, he threw himself forward, his chakra flaring. The air warped, sand hesitated, Sakura dropped free. But there was a price. Gaara's sand struck again, catching a clone. No, not a clone. One of the wounded Chunin Naruto had been protecting. The sand closed, and in the chaos, Naruto saw the cost of war. You can't save everyone. He grabbed Sakura, pulling her behind cover as the battle raged on. Sasuke pressed a bloody hand to his side, teeth gritted. we have to end this. Naruto nodded, blinking away tears. Across the village, his clones fought battles of their own. One defended the hot springs, pelting Sound Ninja with buckets and towels. Another tried to evacuate a group of elders, only to end up getting lectured about respect for tradition in the middle of a kunai barrage. A third clone managed to sneak into the Hokage tower, waving a stick and declaring, "Naruto Uzumaki will protect the Hokage." The ANBU in the room looked ready to faint. Back on the battlefield, Naruto pressed his back to the wall, breathing hard. Kakashi appeared beside them, battered but alive. Sasuke, Sakura fall back and regroup with Guy. Naruto with me. Sasuke scowled but nodded. Sakura squeezed Naruto's hand, eyes wide with fear and something else, faith. Naruto and Kakashi dove into the heart of the chaos. Together, they turned the tide, Kakashi's jutsu and Naruto's illusions clearing paths, disabling squads of sand and sound. But the cost was heavy. Naruto saw it in every face, friends wounded, allies fallen, the line between victory and loss blurring. As dusk fell, the sandstorm faded. The invasion still raged, but the initial attack had been broken. In the silence, Naruto found the body of the Chunin he hadn't saved, face peaceful, kunai clutched in his hand. Naruto knelt, grief pressing his chest. He whispered, "I'm sorry, I promise I'll protect them all next time." Above the city, Gaara retreated with Temari and Kankuro, blood on his sand and a look in his eyes Naruto recognized. Pain, emptiness, rage. Team 7 regrouped as the village counted its wounded and its losses. In the Hokage's office, Danzo seethed as he watched reports come in. "The boy's power is rising, this is our moment." As night swallowed the ruins, Naruto stared at the stars from the hospital rooftop, Sakura asleep nearby, Sasuke silent and watchful. He felt every ache, every loss. But he also felt the eyes of the village on him, fearful, awed, and uncertain. He made his vow again, "I'll protect them all, no matter what it takes." But in the shadows, the Hagioku flickered and the cold voice inside promised, "Not everyone can be saved." Naruto closed his eyes, not sure if he was praying or bracing for the next battle. Smoke still rose above Konoha, curling into the blood-red dawn. The battles had ended, but the pain remained. Streets were scarred, homes cracked, and people moved like ghosts, counting the wounded and searching for the lost. Naruto wandered the ruined market square, the memory of the invasion clawing at him. Every scream and explosion replayed in his mind. The faces of those he'd saved and the one he couldn't haunted him. His body ached, his chakra was nearly gone, and Kyoka Suigetsu's cold memory tugged at his thoughts. He stopped beside the battered statue of the first Hokage. Someone had tied a ragged cloth around its neck, a child's attempt to heal what they could. Naruto sat, head in his hands. "You did well," that other voice whispered, oily and calm, "but you could have done better, if you'd let me." He slammed his fist down, silencing it. "No, not like that, I won't become you." The grief stuck in his throat. The sky was just brightening when Kakashi found him, one eye tired but gentle. He sat beside Naruto in silence, both watching the village wake and limp forward. After a long minute, Kakashi held out a battered book, Makeout Tactics Special Village Recovery Edition. Naruto blinked, then burst out laughing, the sound raw but real. Kakashi's eye crinkled. "You did more than anyone could ask, Naruto. I know it hurts. Losing people always does." Naruto wiped his eyes, trying to grin. "If I were smarter, maybe I could have saved them all." "None of us can," Kakashi said quietly. "We can only keep trying and honor them by moving forward." Naruto nodded, chest tight. The words helped a little. Kakashi ruffled his hair and got up. "Rest, eat, and don't read the last chapter, trust me." Naruto managed a half-smile. "You got it, sensei." But Naruto didn't rest. There was too much to do, and too much danger left in the dark. He left a clone at the hospital to keep Sakura company and guard the snack stash. The real Naruto snuck into alleys and rooftops, listening for rumors, searching for movement in the shadows. He found it sooner than he expected. In a shattered courtyard near the Hokage Tower, a group of masked ANBU surrounded Danzo and two of his root agents. Tension hummed in the air. Danzo's voice was low and urgent. "We strike tonight, the council is weak, the boy is tired. With one push, Konoha will be ours." Naruto crouched above them, barely breathing. He pressed his palm to the tiles, letting chakra slip out in invisible threads. The world shimmered. He layered the courtyard with subtle genjutsu, hiding his presence and blurring the edges of Danzo's words so that only Naruto could hear them clearly. Danzo continued, if anyone resists, we use the child's own power against him. The Hagioku within him is the key. The elders will fall in line. One Ambu hesitated. The Hokage. He's old and tired, he'll step aside or be stepped on. Naruto's fists clenched. For a second, the cold presence inside him urged him to go further, make Danzo see his worst fear, break him from the inside. Instead, Naruto crafted an illusion of shadows shifting, whispering, a sense of paranoia. The root agents stiffened, glancing around. Danzo noticed the change, his eye narrowing, sensing but not seeing. Who's there? Naruto grinned from above, slipping away before the alarm could rise. He rushed to the Hokage's office, bursting in on Hiruzen and a cluster of elders. The room was tense, papers scattered, eyes rimmed red with exhaustion. Naruto spoke quickly, urgency clear. Danzo's making his move. Tonight, he wants to use me, use the power inside me to take control. The elders paled, Hiruzen's jaw tightened, but his eyes remained steady. I believe you, Naruto, the third Hokage said. I'll take care of Danzo, but you rest, protect your friends, don't let anyone twist you. Naruto hesitated, then bowed. I won't let you down. But rest was impossible. The village was still at war with itself, even as the enemy retreated. Naruto spent the day helping where he could, pulling survivors from rubble, carrying food to the hospital, fixing what little could be fixed. His clones multiplied, lending hands everywhere, sometimes causing more chaos than help. One clone accidentally repainted a market stall with ramen broth, another built a wall backward. For a few moments, the laughter and bickering brought life back to the village. But that night, as darkness fell, Danzo struck. Root agents slipped through the shadows, aiming to seize the Hokage Tower and take Naruto by force. Alarms blared, ANBU mobilized, and the village's fragile peace threatened to snap. Naruto moved faster than he ever had. He slipped through alleys, clones acting as decoys and messengers. He wrapped the tower in a veil of illusion, confusing Root and scattering their lines. Danzo himself moved toward the heart of the chaos, determined to reach Naruto. In the main corridor, Naruto confronted him. The old man's lone eye glinted with ambition. You could rule this village, Danzo said. Let me help you. Together we'll create a new Konoha. Naruto shook his head. No more lies, no more using people. I'll protect this place my way. Danzo's mask slipped. Then you are just a child playing king. Naruto met his gaze, letting his own power, his real self, shine through. Maybe, but I'd rather be a child than a monster. Danzo lunged, but Naruto unleashed Kyoka Suijutsu, casting Danzo and his guards into a world of mirrors and endless judgment. The old man staggered, lost in his own fears. Hiruzen arrived with ANBU at his side, binding Danzo at last. The coup had failed for now. When dawn broke, Naruto stood on a rooftop, battered and tired, watching as the village began to rebuild in earnest. He felt the loss keenly, the friend he couldn't save, the villagers who looked at him with new fear and hope, the sense that nothing would ever be the same. He visited the hospital, sitting quietly by Sakura's bed, holding her hand while she slept. He found Sasuke outside, watching the sky, and just sat with him in silence. For a while that was enough. Later, Kakashi tried to lighten the mood by presenting Naruto with a brand new and extremely suspect volume of make-out tactics. Naruto snorted, tossing it back, but the laughter they shared was genuine, cutting through the gloom. That evening, as the village gathered to honor the fallen, Naruto stood among his friends, feeling the weight of their gazes, thankful, fearful, uncertain. He bowed his head, promising to carry their hopes, even if the burden felt impossible. High above, in the shadows of the council chamber, the elders whispered, plotting their next move. As the ceremony ended, Naruto felt the pulse of the Hagioku inside him, quieter now, but never gone. He whispered, I'll protect them, no matter what. But in the dark, a new danger coiled, waiting for its chance. The sun rose over a battered Konoha, painting the broken roofs and scarred stone streets in gold. The invasion was over, but the sense of unease lingered like a bruise. The village bustled with repairs. Shinobi hurried through the alleys, rebuilding walls, checking on wounded friends, and carrying the weight of loss in every step. In the Hokage's office, Hiruzen Sarutobi stared down at his desk, a pile of reports in front of him. ANBU files, medical records, lists of the dead, but it was the sealed folder marked Uzumaki Naruto Priority that sat on top. He read it again, every line about chakra surges, root casualties, the strange illusions that even seasoned agents couldn't explain. He knew the elders' whispers would soon become demands. The boy is a danger, his power is unnatural, is he still ours? Hiruzen sighed, looking out the window at the ruined village. Minato, Kushina, what would you have me do? Word of Naruto's heroics and his terrifying new power spread faster than any ninja could run. Some villagers hailed him as their savior, children chased after him, mimicking his awesome clone army and illusion tricks. But others kept their distance, whispering about his otherworldly chakra, about the way root had been broken, about the cold wind that swept through the streets the night Danzo fell. Naruto tried to ignore it all. He kept moving, helping repair rooftops, hauling stone with clones, cracking jokes to lighten heavy hearts. But he saw the way people watched him, both in awe and in fear. Sakura and Sasuke stuck close. Sakura would drag him for forced friend ramen therapy, insisting on extra pork every time. Sasuke watched silently, his eyes hard and thoughtful. One morning, as they walked the main street, a squad of ANBU fell into step behind them. The Hokage requests your presence, all three of you. Naruto's gut twisted. He glanced at Sakura and Sasuke, who nodded. No way they'd let him face this alone. The Hokage's office was colder than usual. The elders sat in a semicircle, their faces stern. Hiruzen waited in the center, his gaze steady but tired. Naruto stood tall, refusing to flinch. One elder, Mitakato Hamura, started, Naruto Uzumaki, in the last week you have demonstrated abilities that surpass even seasoned jonin. Explain yourself. Naruto met his gaze, not backing down. I did what I had to. I used my chakra, my clones, and something else. I don't know how to explain it. I just wanted to protect the village. The other elder, Koharu, leaned forward. And if this power turns on us, you brought down root, disrupted the minds of loyal shinobi, and frightened your peers. How do we know you can control it? Naruto hesitated. The cold voice inside flickered, eager to answer for him, to threaten, to lie. Instead, he said, I don't have all the answers, but I have my friends, my sensei, I have this village. I'll fight for Konoha always. Hiruzen held up a hand, silencing the elders. That's enough. Naruto risked everything for us. We will watch and we will help him learn control, but we do not throw away our own. Naruto let out a shaky breath. Sasuke smirked and Sakura squeezed his shoulder. As they left the office, Hiruzen called Naruto back for a quiet word. You're not alone, Naruto, I promise you that. Naruto nodded, eyes stinging. But word of the council's concern spread. The older shinobi eyed him warily. The younger ones whispered, torn between awe and suspicion. Naruto felt the pressure building, the same pressure that had chased him since he was small, only now amplified by real fear and real power. Sasuke was the first to break the tension. One afternoon, he challenged Naruto in the forest just outside the village. You and me, now no holding back. Naruto hesitated. What's this about? Sasuke's eyes were red, sharp. I need to know if I can beat you. I need to know if you're still you. Naruto understood. Fine, but if I win, you have to admit I'm not a loser. Sasuke smirked. Deal. Sakura watched, anxious, but knew better than to try to stop them. The clearing was quiet, birds startled into silence by the surge of chakra. Sasuke struck first, a flurry of shuriken, fire jutsu, a feint left and a real punch from the right. Naruto's body moved almost on its own, clones intercepting attacks, illusions flickering just enough to throw off Sasuke's timing. Sasuke gritted his teeth, eyes spinning as he tried to pierce the haze. Stop hiding behind tricks. Naruto shot back, this is who I am. The fight escalated real, raw, and fast. Trees splintered, the ground tore, chakra crackled and sizzled in the air. Sasuke drew on the curse mark's power, dark fire licking at his hands. Naruto felt the Hagioku pulse, the world warping just a bit. For a split second, both boys stood on the edge, Naruto's Reiatsu pouring out, distorting the air, while Sasuke's Sharingan spun, trying to see through every illusion. Their attacks collided, a shockwave sending leaves spiraling, flattening the grass for 20 meters around. They both stood panting, faces bruised, knuckles raw. Sasuke stared at Naruto, then dropped to one knee, exhausted. You're not the same, but you're still an idiot. Naruto grinned, falling to the ground beside him. Yeah, but I'm your idiot. Sakura ran to them, hugging both, laughing and crying at the same time. As dusk settled, Team 7 sat together, nursing their wounds. Naruto looked up at the Hokage monument. I want to protect this place, I want to be myself, but it's getting harder, you know? Sasuke shrugged, that's life, you just gotta keep punching through. Sakura nodded, wiping her tears. We'll help, you're not alone. Naruto smiled, feeling their bond steady him against the storm. That night, the village's leaders met in secret. The elders argued, some calling for Naruto's exile, others for tighter controls. Hiruzen stood firm, we do not abandon our own. But even he felt the weight of uncertainty. Was Naruto truly in control? Was Konoha safe from its own hero? In his small room, Naruto lay awake, staring at the ceiling. The Hagioku in his belly pulsed, sending ripples through his chakra. The air shimmered, reality thinning at the edges. Suddenly, a chill swept the room. Naruto sat up, every sense alert. Across the village, in a hidden chamber, a sealed Shinigami mask cracked, a jagged line splitting the ancient bone. Blue fire flickered from within. At the same moment, a child in a distant street, a stranger with silver eyes, awoke, sitting bolt upright, gasping as ghostly energy swirled around him. The Hagioku within Naruto flared, sensing a threat not from Konoha, not from this world, but from beyond the veil. Naruto pressed his hand to his stomach, heart pounding. The world felt thinner, less certain, as if a door was opening. He stood facing the window and watched as a breeze stirred the leaves, carrying with it the scent of rain and something colder. Sasuke's words echoed in his mind, you just gotta keep punching through. Naruto smiled, fierce and unbroken. Let them come, he whispered, I'll be ready. Konoha woke under a sky streaked with gold and violet, the village both alive and wounded. The sounds of hammers and laughter mixed with the hush of morning. Even after the smoke cleared and the wounded were tended, it was clear everything had changed. The scars would not heal quickly, not in the stone, not in the people. For Naruto, the days after the invasion felt stranger than ever. Everywhere he went, villagers stared, not with the old fear, not just with awe, but with something heavier. Some looked at him like a savior. Others watched as if waiting for him to break. He stood atop the Hokage monument at dawn, the wind whipping his jacket, gazing down at the village he'd bled for. It should have felt triumphant. Instead, all he felt was the split inside, part hero, part outcast, part something not of this world. Below, ANBU patrolled in force. The elders met in darkened rooms, arguing over his future. Even Hiruzen, for all his warmth, had grown wary, assigning new guards to Naruto's home. The word king had started to swirl through the streets, sometimes with pride, sometimes in fear. Naruto left the monument as the sun climbed, making his way through the village. Every few steps, a child called his name, cheering, waving, imitating his clones. Old men bowed their heads, a merchant handed him a rice ball with a nervous smile. But behind the smiles were hushed words, council whispers. If he can do this, what else can he do? What if he turns against us? Can we control him? Naruto felt the burden press heavier. He ducked into Ikaraku ramen, hopping for comfort. Chucha and Iame greeted him with warmth, Iame piling his bowl high. You saved us all, Naruto, Chucha said, pride in his eyes. Naruto just nodded, appetite fatting as fast as it came. Later, as he wandered the rooftops, his clones began to appear one by one. They argued, joked, compared ramen reviews. Before long, a dozen Narutos were running up and down the tiles, some chasing each other, others organizing an impromptu, clones-only rooftop party. One clone started a conga line. Another attempted a backflip, missed, and tumbled into an ANBU patrol below. The ANBU, serious and silent, ended up dragged into a food fight as a rain of dango and rice balls exploded across the rooftops. Naruto laughed until his sides hurt. For a moment, the weight lifted and the village felt young again. Even a pair of ANBU, wiping dango from their masks, had to stifle their smiles. Kakashi found him at the peak of the chaos, arms crossed, eye crinkling. I see you're keeping morale high. Naruto grinned, tossing him a rice ball. You gotta eat, sensei. Kakashi caught it. Careful, some people don't want a king, they want a friend. Naruto sobered, the words hitting deep. I know. As the day wore on, Naruto found himself drifting toward the cemetery. He knelt at the graves of fallen friends and strangers, offering silent prayers, remembering their names. Sakura found him there, silent tears on her cheeks. I wish we could have saved them all, she whispered. Naruto nodded. So do I. Sasuke joined them, hands in his pockets, head bowed. The three stood together, a silent promise between them they would never let each other go. When evening came, the council gathered once more. The elders debated, arguing over whether to train Naruto as a weapon or exile him as a threat. Hiruzen, weary but resolute, faced them all. He is not a king, he is a boy who has suffered more than any of us. He is Konoha's future, whether you fear it or not. Some elders relented, others did not, but for now, Naruto was safe. That night, Naruto returned to the rooftops. The clones had set up lanterns, turning the tiles into a glowing playground. Even Sakura and Sasuke joined in, Sakura laughing as she dodged a flying dumpling, Sasuke smirking as he outmaneuvered 3 clones at once. As the party raged, ANBU arrived, this time willingly, tossing Dango, joining in the wild rooftop food fight. Laughter echoed across the village, and for a moment, all lines blurred, hero and outcast, soldier and child. Naruto stood in the center, watching his friends and his shadows. He felt something shift inside him, not the cold presence of Aizen, not just the pull of the Hagioku, but his own will. He raised his hands, voice ringing out, "This is our village, let's protect it together." Cheers rose, laughter carrying into the night. Later, Naruto slipped away, the food fight winding down. He wandered to the edge of the rooftops, looking out at the village. For a moment, he felt utterly alone. He pulled out his battered sketchbook, tracing the outline of Kyoka Suijutsu's blade. The power within him stirred, the Hagioku pulsing softly, the air shimmering just a bit. He whispered, I won't become a tyrant, I'll never lose myself. For a moment, no voice answered. Then, just at the edge of hearing, he sensed a presence, a nod of reluctant respect, maybe, or just his own hope. He looked down at his hands, at the scars, the calluses, the power. I'll be a savior, not a king. As midnight approached, a chill swept through the village. In the underground vaults, the ancient Shinigami mask cracked further, blue light flickering along its seams. Deep in the shadows, the child with silver eyes stirred, rising from his mat as ghostly energy swirled. Outside, the breeze shifted, carrying a new scent, a faint, cold promise. Naruto looked up, eyes sharpening. He felt it, the veil thinning, a new threat pressing against the world. He smiled, tired but unbroken. Let them come, he murmured, eyes bright. I'm not alone. And that wraps up today's story. What if Naruto was reincarnation of Aizen? I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did putting it together. If you did, don't forget to leave a like, drop a comment with your thoughts or your own what if ideas, and of course, subscribe if you haven't already. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.